the minutes first, cause we have some on the agenda right away.
Okay.
Pretty fast.
Minutes were emailed and there's a copy here if anybody needs to look at it.
Do you look at the minutes for another second?
Um,
Well, you have a time change.
I know
added
yeah,
at the bottom.
the meeting adjourned at 7:45.
So I would need a motion to, accept the minutes as amended, that we ended at 7:45.
The word council,
What, where?
something about council, COUNCIL.
You sent this out earlier, didn't you?
I sent it out.
The legal fees
This,
were
Ruthie, you
we're
sent
not
this
gonna-
out earlier, right?
Yes,
You're supposed to put the email with the agenda
Oh, town
yesterday.
council,
yeah, okay. This is-
SEO.
sorry.
That's all right.
This is what old people do, is they pick up on
I'm usually
spelling errors and
pretty good at that. I'm gonna blame
counters
spell check.
and we get finicky.
It updates things on you.
It does, 'cause
It does.
Okay, do I have a motion yet?
I'll make a motion
To
to accept
accept
the meetings
as
as
amended?
it was amended, second.
Okay, so the amendments include the spelling correction and the change that we ended, we concluded the
Yes.
meeting at 7:45 PM. Any discussion? All in favor? John, you gonna vote? He's
I
abstaining.
can't remember if I read it, see, that's the problem.
Okay,
And
that's
I wasn't
fine.
gonna wade through it again.
That's fine. All right,
It's
so
not a
it
reflection
passed.
on you, Ruthie, it's a reflection on my incapacity to remember whether I'd actually read it or not.
Do you want me to call you next time?
Oh, are you
Yeah,
gonna help me through this?
I'm the manager.
You're gonna help me through this labyrinth of life? Thank you, yes. Do that anytime you like.
Okay, so, I don't know if the Water and Sewer Commission, I thought Jim Sheehan was coming at least.
He said he was.
Let me take a look and see. Hi. Hi. See anybody else out here, huh? Will you look at Jim Sheehan, I got the water, one of the water system, and something to show up. Well, they want. What time are we supposed to come? Like now-ish. No, that's all right, we'll go for it, and then we can always, go back. So, we can go ahead with the review of the changes to town government structure, cause the Water and Sewer Commission wanted to comment on that. And, Ruth and I had a little meeting yesterday about all of the, contributions which are still coming in. Thank you, John, for more dialogue on this. It's really
It's the same
good.
one, it's just
Yeah.
for everyone.
Okay.
One
So-
sheet, that's it.
Yep, one sheet, that's nice, we like one page of things. So, here we go. So, as we met yesterday, we looked at the Excel chart,
Yeah,
yep, and you saw that
yeah.
I just took it and kind of reorganized it to look more like the omnibus
No, it
category.
looked good.
Yeah, but I like what Jim did with the, Excel sheet, is that he just, it's a one page that shows what's changing and what's not, which is kind of a nice summary. And what I thought, and I know we've spoken about like phase one, phase two, but I think now that we're approaching the annual town meeting, it's probably a better idea to go with recommendations to the annual town meeting and then perhaps future possibilities as our, cause we've obviously discussed the public works, but I thought prioritized the town manager and town clerk positions, if I'm understanding
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Okay, so what I would like, if we wanna discuss it some more, but I would like us to vote a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that we would like to see these two changes on the annual town meeting warrant, that we would be in favor. Yes,
So if I may,
you may.
in my recent conversations with council, it's too soon. There's no way you can add the town manager vote on this annual town meeting. There's too
Oh.
much work that needs to be done
Okay, we have leg.
and there's not enough time. So they said it takes about 6 months from the time you all decide that, yes, we're gonna go ahead with this, to having it on a town meeting.
Okay, so we could just vote the recommendation.
Yes,
on
and ask the board to, and ask the selectmen to make the same recommendation, and then you could all work towards what you want the job description to be. You have to actually, we have to actually write the legislation, and
Right,
they suggest seeking resident input in forms
Of
of public
course.
hearings and
Yep.
things like that.
that's a nice idea. What about, the town clerk position, are we gonna roll that into those?
So the
Same
town
thing?
clerk, no, the town clerk can be on the warrant. I do have the they did write the town meeting, warrant article for me, and, it's the same thing that we did with the road commissioner position.
Yes,
There's two ways to go. You can either place it on a town meeting warrant, and make it, subject to a ballot question,
okay,
but it could not be on the subsequent ballot. It would have to be a year from, with the next ballot. You have to have 60 days between the town meeting and the ballot. Or we take the road that we did with the road commissioner, you put it on as special legislation, and it only requires a town meeting vote.
right, so just to refresh our memory, cause, Ruth and I were discussing yesterday, so if, let's say it was on the annual town meeting warrant, and the town meeting discusses the pros and cons and decides to say, yes, we'll change this to appointed. What happens to the position, it's up for election now, I'm assuming it will get filled. How do we transition from the person that's now been elected for a 3-year term to appointment? We must have done that with the road commissioner.
Yes, the only question is, and so the way council wrote the language was the same way as the road commissioner, that the person holding the position would stay in that until the term is up, which would be the 3-year term.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
in my previous conversations with them, they had said that, the person would remain in that until the position is filled. So I don't know if there's two options for that, or if it's only where it's elected, it has to be the one that it remains until the expiration of the term.
'Cause
So I just need to clarify that
right,
with
so
them.
with the road commissioner, we didn't really have a concern because he was going into the position again for the next term and he did not wanna finish it.
Correct.
So that made it simpler. The only other time I can think that the town did this, and you would have been involved in maybe a little bit, John, was the, town treasurer. Went from elected to appointed, but I don't recall if somebody ran for the seat or whether everyone just said, remember with when we made the financial department? That was all
Right.
rolled into one thing, and there was language about that position and its transition, and I don't have
Yeah,
that.
so I'll clarify that with council. I will say, so 5 people have pulled papers for town clerk, as of yesterday. I will clarify that. I would say if we choose the route of special legislation only, we're looking at, probably December anyways, before the legislation is ratified by the
Right.
governor. So you're still, it's not like someone's gonna win and be gone the next week.
No.
So, I will just clarify that, but I do have the language, they said that is perfectly acceptable to put on this current town meeting.
Okay, and I think we've noticed, with the biggest, in my mind, for me, the biggest reason to change this is that the salary has grown and the responsibilities and the complexity of the job have grown. Similar to the road commissioner, you wanna make sure that, we have a qualified person in there, and even if we were to elect a qualified person, which we hopefully would, we wanna make sure we could keep them in there. And that they wouldn't just get voted out on some fluke
Right.
election. We'd have a little more consistency in that office, continuity. Someone could stay in there more than 3 years at a time without having to stand out in the corner with a sign, which I think,
I think you need to look at what the consequences of this decision is. If we do this special legislation,
go ahead,
we're gonna have these people, the person who is elected,
yes.
come in, and then they see that they're gonna be on the outs sometime a year or so from the time they were elected. There's gonna be essentially, if they see that ahead of time, he'll be lobbying against it, and you're gonna have a lot of people making it difficult.
I was thinking about that too.
Yes, but that may be why council wrote the language to say they stay until the remainder of that term, which means whoever gets elected is in there. They become appointed, but they become appointed to fill the 3-year term.
Okay, so that would get us out of the box.
I think that would be okay. It isn't the perfect thing to do, but, if it was the perfect thing, the person that held that position could apply for the position.
Correct.
And I would think that there would be a wide open hiring
Right,
review
correct.
process to
Right.
bring
Yeah.
in that position.
Yes.
So I say, if we can proceed with at least get it into the warrant, and then we can, deal with,
The town meeting.
the town meeting, because I just don't, if you don't do it now, when are you gonna do it?
Right,
Right.
So
but
you either don't do it,
yeah.
Okay,
The reasons don't change really, John, despite the fact that
No,
5
no, I
people are
understand that.
running. The fact that it's a position that we would like to have some some continuity and consistency and qualifications, and that's not to say that all 5 people who are running could understandably be qualified, cause you don't learn this on the street, you kind of learn it when you get there, there's training. So I think the interest in the job means there'll be a lot of interest in the job if it's appointed as well, which is good for the town.
Right, I think though to John's point, the downside would be, I don't know if someone's holding another job and they quit that job thinking that they've
Right.
won the election and then it ends up being a short-term position, so,
So
How
if we
long
go
is
for
the term?
3 years.
Does it need to be?
Yes,
Can
so,
we change it for 1 year, given the circumstances?
No,
Not before
there
an
might be
election.
3, there might be 3, but if they got elected hoping that to be kind of a permanent appointment, you know, being re-elected and re-elected and re-elected,
Oh, I understand that's what they're hoping for.
that's what they're hoping for, that's
Mhm.
right.
And-
right, but I don't think you can change it at this point, cause the nomination papers specify a
Oh.
3-year term.
Okay, so does the committee have a feeling about whether or not we want to recommend that whoever's elected is allowed to complete the term? I mean, the selectmen can always choose to do otherwise and word the article differently, but do you want to see the completion of the term, or do you wanna see the position changed out if the town meeting votes it? And
I
the
don't think that's a
legislation goes?
decision we need to make right now.
Right, and
Okay.
I don't know
Alright.
that anyone can change it, like I
You
said,
know?
town
No,
council gave
I
me that
agree.
language, so that might be what's
Oh,
required.
Okay, so you're thinking
I'm
that-
just trying to clarify if that is the only option,
so you think that it could be that's the only option, they complete their term?
correct.
Okay, so then we don't need to do anything more
And,
than that.
and, you know,
Alright,
maybe
thank you.
whoever wins the election may be totally qualified, so
Right, well,
I don't
or-
wanna disparage anyone running for this
Not at all.
job, because it's an elected position right now, so why don't we just go with the flow here?
Yep, I like it.
And then more than likely at the end of the 3 years, obviously whoever's in there has now been doing the job for 3 years
Right.
and,
So,
And been to the training.
Right.
Yeah.
So they'll have the
Right.
training behind.
but they
it.
would be appointed as of the day the legislation happened. So they may be appointed as of December 2019 through May 3rd, 2021. or-
Okay,
So, and then they would be reappointed at that point if the board chose to do so.
oh, that's good, all right. What do you think?
Sounds reasonable.
And then do they report to the voters or the Board of Selectmen
No,
after?
they would report to the Board of Selectmen if the legislation is signed. They become appointed as of that time, but the requirement is they fill out
So
the
that
remainder of their term.
reporting structure.
Well, then that
Is there.
satisfies our concerns about the hierarchy, everything would be flowing smoothly at that
That's
point.
correct.
Yes.
That's the
No.
whole point, isn't it?
Yes, I would hope so. I don't wanna try and rock the vote. Okay, so, again, I come back to, we're at a point now where we could make some recommendations. Ruth had kind of a letter
So,
going that
I
was
did a summary
actually quite
page
good.
and I just printed a few copies. I didn't send them out in advance because I wanted to be able to.
Do you want me to make another copy? Does
No,
Denise have it?
I don't need a copy of it,
That's
and
okay.
I think we can probably share.
Yeah.
I just feel like we look at all these things and we throw them away 5 seconds later.
Yeah.
Kathy, you talked about
Okay, so,
adding a third point about the fire chief. I took that out.
right, well, I think
because
we
I didn't
do,
think it-
well, now that this is all changed different, we've changed completely on the town manager, so I was trying to keep everything that was going
Yeah,
to
I-
annual town meeting in one place, and now we can no longer do that.
So what I was trying to
Yeah.
achieve here was just having a one-page summary for the people that are going to give this 25 seconds of their time. A very quick, brief overview. And that's when I added in the 2 points of the changes that we were recommending, the town manager, and the changing of the clerk
So
from
now,
elected to appointed.
now we would change the dates that we would vote not until 2020 on the town manager.
Right, or if the town so chose to have a fall town meeting for this purpose, you could do that as well.
Oh,
So I guess it
Special
really
town meeting,
depends,
right.
right, you could have a special town meeting in
well,
the
so we
fall.
can put it when to be determined by the voter, by the select. board.
Future town meeting,
Future, okay, so that goes to.
When at a future town
right,
meeting.
and you could still certainly put that in your letter to town meeting, that this is one of your recommendations.
Mm-hmm,
You
yes.
could do that if you want.
And then, you know, we did a quick overview of the clerk, and then underneath that, Kathy had said she thought, you know, given that the public works conversation is really for a later date, we took attention away from it, and we just noted it, that we've had discussions about it, and said, but, you know, this is to be considered later and, no votes have been taken. So
Right.
I just made a very brief mention of it,
I
so
know
it's
votes are
not
taken.
disregarded.
Right,
So this was the very brief overview. And then I see that there's people that want to know that this has been a conversation, that there's been a thorough vetting of all of this. So then I took this that John wrote and added in some other
I mean,
information of what was discussed here and made a letter, a comprehensive letter for the few people, or the people, I shouldn't say the people that might want to just really get a more comprehensive conversation about it. And then we were going to attach Jim's spreadsheet to that and maybe the PowerPoint with the
If we can-
hierarchies
if we
that
can
he
get
had
the-
mentioned.
if we can get it to work.
So,
We
that's
might
what
come
that's about.
crawling to you.
Yeah, and I could certainly, that stuff I can easily put on the website under the finance board, so if you
Sure,
have those
yeah.
recommendations, a letter, you
Right.
can certainly list that on there.
Yeah.
So let me get this right. This replaces this.
Yes,
Okay, fine.
The letter on the second page includes that.
No,
Yeah.
it's not an
So-
issue. Now, this is going to go before the selectmen,
yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about this diagram of all these boxes and
The
whatever?
boxes
Yeah,
would
the
have to be
boxes.
cleaned up, we're gonna get
Oh,
rid of the
we
blue.
know that, but,
Right.
but
So-
where are we with those?
Well, we're in a little trouble with the boxes, but
I
what we're-
figured that.
what we discussed, I'm just looking for the sample from West Newbury, is
I
to
have
make,
it.
oh, thank you, do you have it there?
Yeah.
I have it in this pile here.
Does West Newbury
They
have
have
a
a nice little
PowerPoint version? of it?
cleaner
We could-
They have
chart.
a beautiful
Yes.
one.
Then
Yeah,
we'll take it.
oh, here it is, nope, that's not it.
Yes,
I
I've
lied.
sent it out.
No, these are ours.
Yeah, you did.
I'm gonna get rid of the blue color, cause that's horrible. Clean them up, but they're open boxes, that's what we're gonna go to.
It's this.
Yes, thank you. With a couple of footnotes at the bottom, something as simple as.
Oh, this
Oh, that's
changed
good.
now.
Yes.
Oh,
It
that
would-
looks a little cleaner than the
Yes.
last version.
Yes, that's what we're gonna shoot for, is this.
Okay, when do we get a look at that? Because I wasn't too happy.
This is
with-
not
No,
ours.
that's not, that's West
Oh.
Newbury.
This
I
is
beg
a
your
sample
pardon.
of what we are going to.
Ours would look like that, except it would have what we have for positions, not what they have. But you would
I-
have that big box across the top,
Okay,
same old, current and then proposed town manager structure,
okay,
and that's it. Boom,
all right. Now,
without
the
blue.
dialogue with yours needed some tidying up too,
Oh,
I
gosh,
thought.
yes. No, I think it just needs, it's in the right order, it just needs to be this box opened up. It's just, we need to,
You need
see,
to
the
put that
lines are
into
there, we're
that.
gonna stretch the lines so that it's not like.
Yeah, it's a very tight, that. It's very-
Yes.
And this isn't, that, which is.
This is not,
Yeah, right.
yes. And we
Now,
can
now,
make it-
what's the program that does that? Have you
This
got the
is
program?
PowerPoint, yes.
PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
PowerPoint.
And you've been doing that?
Yeah, but I'm a little bit of a
You gotta
novice.
be-
She's
you gotta be
more-
good
I
at
don't
po-
use it that much at work. She's got the box
It's
and
a
circle.
difficult portion of PowerPoint
It's,
to do.
yeah, it's, if you haven't used
Do
it
it
a
in
lot.
Word too.
You could
It's
do
the
it in, Word.
hierarchy structure.
Yeah, Word or PowerPoint, but we'll do it more with the bubbles and boxes like this, longer box.
Yeah, I just thought that was
I like that.
stretched out more. I like how they
It kind of
had a
umbrellas.
line down and made another.
I like
Having
it.
multiple lines just
I like
gives
it
you more
because it's on
room.
one page.
Now, when did you get that, by the way?
From West Newbury.
I've
This-
emailed that to the group.
you
This
have-
is
I didn't get it.
A long,
I
long
did.
time ago, yeah.
When you were much younger.
No,
Just kidding.
I never got that.
Well,
What was
maybe
it?
you don't, was it a PDF version?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't open it, John, or maybe you didn't get it. We'll make
Probably
sure that
back
you
in
get
early
one.
fall,
We can
when
send
we
it to
started
you.
talking about, yeah, I can send it to you again.
That would be nice, yeah.
But
I'd
we
like
want
look
it
at
to look like that as opposed to.
I hear you, I hear you.
So then we would have this letter that would give dialogue. This is where your input here is included.
I
in
understand
this.
that,
Yeah,
I
we stole
understand.
your words. You have good words, nicely written.
I noticed you wrote it, huh? No, but you wrote it, that's
I
what it
didn't-
says on the
Well,
bottom.
it says I did, but actually,
Yeah, I got it.
Ghostwriter.
That's done, it's pretty common.
she's so common.
There's a lot of
It's
lying
just,
going on, is that
There's
right?
no
Okay.
ad. I just changed.
You know, what you gotta do.
All right.
So tonight, are we comfortable taking a
The
vote
whole
on a
thing needs to be,
recommendation
this is a,
for the town
That's
manager,
the
town
draft.
clerk
this
position?
is my first draft,
Yes.
yeah, that I
And
was trying to.
Take a look at this letter, make sure
Yeah, we
that
need
this,
to look at this first.
take
before-
a quick,
yeah.
take a look at this letter, make sure this
I need a
reads,
copy.
oh, here we go. Make
I'll
sure,
email it
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
no, no, no,
well.
Read it
just
real quick,
read it
yeah.
now and make sure this, you're comfortable with the language and, cause this is really the
Does anyone
proposal.
else need a?
No, I'm
No.
good, I've seen the letter.
No, it's Lori and Lynn and the whole thing.
Okay.
How did that fall off? Crying out loud.
So John, you might not have noticed, but it was the, when I sent it out, it has like handwriting on the very first page. You have to like scroll through it, but I'll resend it right now.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I still have phases 1 and phases 2. I can change that language so we're not using phase 1
Right.
and phase 2 anymore.
That's a good idea, thanks.
Looks good to me.
I thought if that was, so in this brief summary page, at the bottom, it says, for a more comprehensive view, blah, blah, blah. You can see the letter located at, so that we can just have it attached. I think the summary is what most people will read, but I think it's important to have something
I have to
more
back it up.
comprehensive.
Excuse me, the phase 1, phase 2, you're eliminating for what reason?
We're gonna do what we're recommending right away and what the future may.
We're
have.
just changing the language from phase 1,
Alright.
phase 2 to
Says-
current and
Doesn't mean
It
much.
says
Proposed.
That's really good.
Okay,
future possibilities.
okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Okay,
fine,
our future
Okay.
consideration.
all right.
But it's just to put it off, it's not the immediate that we
Okay.
wanted to address. Yeah.
Oh, and I also need to change, this also says,
The second to last paragraph, we revise.
establishing the public works would be an endeavor to take fiscal year 2021. I'm gonna take that language out because it will be
Exactly.
in the future, but I'll take out the fiscal year references, cause that's kind of a bit of a moving target now,
Right.
for both the town manager
Mhm.
and whatever else will follow,
Yes.
Okay.
so I'll modify that.
So do we wanna just change that sentence on the first to say, initially, comma, we support changing, the changes involving town manager and town clerk? And that way we can take the word year out.
Yeah.
So if we just start with initially right here, in the first paragraph, 1, 2, 3, fourth sentence, where it says we support.
Yep, initially we support the changes
Yes.
involving the town manager and the town clerk.
And just end
period.
it there, period, taking out, going into
Yep.
effect next. And then are we taking that second sentence out completely, the end of it? Or do you want to put
For future consideration.
future consideration? Or do you wanna say the finance committee, the finance board recommends future consideration of a, at a later
Department of
time?
Public Works.
Yes, at a later date. How's that sound? So we're taking those,
Finance
okay.
board. Did you say recommends or supports?
How about supports rather than recommends, so we're not voting the recommendation, we're supporting investigate,
Future consideration.
yeah,
Of a consolidated Department of Public Works.
yeah, future,
Oh,
yeah,
thank
for,
you.
for future consideration. We don't, that we can't make the recommendation on at this point.
No.
We don't have enough information.
Right.
Okay,
Finance
There's a
board
lot of
supports future
complexities.
consideration of a consolidated Department of Public Works, period.
I would recommend, just because there's been some rumors,
Mhm.
I would recommend, or put after that excluding the light department, cause cause I've gotten some calls about
Yeah.
this, people thinking that this
know,
is
I
including the
heard-
light department.
It's so crazy.
I think I know where it came from.
Okay, just put in parentheses, excluding the light department, cause that's a whole separate type of organization.
Yeah, and I think that way, anything that, cause I've said it's, we've talked about it
Well,
in meetings, that it's not including the light department.
So in the 4th paragraph, it says, this would integrate cemetery, highway, and water and sewer.
It just seems like there's a.
Facilities
I
and
get, I
parks.
think that,
We would also
I think if
consider
we,
if formalizing a Parks and Rec department would be appropriate at this juncture. We don't have a.
but in
formal
the
Parks
first
and Rec.
paragraph,
No,
if we
but-
just put out excludes the light department, electric light department, it just takes it right off the plotter, we,
You know, I would add facilities, the plan is to add facilities as well to the public works department. Facilities and, parks, which is under the highway currently.
well, that's why that's something that we need to go through the first changes and then go to that, cause that's
Yeah.
that requires a lot of input from employees and managers and townspeople.
So in the last one paragraph, Ruth,
Yeah.
it says application of phases 1 and 2 here. What did you replace that with?
I haven't done it yet.
Okay,
Oh.
where are you, John? I'll maybe come up with a little.
I'm over here.
What do you want?
Okay, let
Right
me
here,
see.
where it-
Let me see. The following, the first one is.
Cause that was really what I had written here.
Okay, and the second, well, why don't we say the second diagram, leave off the third, the second diagram, cause we won't do a third diagram since we're not getting into, oh, then let's change the number of diagrams. No,
Do we wanna,
the second
do
diagram
we wanna
shows-
move the decision on this to the next meeting since it's only 2 weeks? It's, cause it sounds like we're still dialoguing,
All right, but let's get the
changes.
language.
and we'll be
So-
closer to the
You
final
wanna just take the
package.
Here's what I
reference to
say.
the diagrams out completely and attach what we attach?
You could do that too.
I
But-
think you should this should read on to what is coming next, you know,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
I do like the idea of having a diagram. I would say the first diagram shows the current government and the second shows the recommended changes
And
for town manager and town clerk, period,
Okay,
right?
all right,
Okay,
town manager and town clerk.
and we're not gonna do another diagram, cause that other thing is
Fine,
farther out.
involving the town manager and town clerk.
And then the appendix is fine as it is. That sounds good, yeah, we were right, we could clean this up and bring it back for the
Yeah,
vote.
I mean, we're getting
Yeah.
together in 2 weeks. It
That's
sounds like we're real
I didn't realize
close.
the meeting's so fast, 2 weeks.
Well, I don't know.
Yes,
yeah.
cause the selectmen will need to vote,
Okay,
they're closing the warrant on the 4th, so if they're gonna add the town clerk article in there, you guys still have time to vote on the 27th, and the
Oh,
board can
okay.
vote on it on the 4th.
okay. So we're meeting on the 27th? Just decided that,
No, that's in the schedule you guys said.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
I've
Yeah.
sent
Oh,
out
that's right.
couple
This
of
is-
reminders
You're right,
on
213, 227, you're right, I
Yes, there'll be
recall.
2 meetings.
Lynn, you
Okay.
can come in now.
only I
Okay.
have 3 things to
So,
do now on the
have we-
27th.
Is everybody satisfied with what we've done on this so far?
Yes, it's really good
Yeah,
job.
that's good. Thanks, Ruth, for putting this together so quickly.
Yeah, that was really good.
Thanks.
Let's see if I
thank
still make it on my
Thank you, John,
airplane
for these.
tomorrow.
you. I'm just cleaning out the space here. Freaking buried in paper.
Get ready, gird your loins.
Uh-oh, wait, I'm
Put
gonna
down
move piles out of the way then, if it's gonna be like that, right? There we go. I'm gonna cleanse my space. So,
If you wanna grab one and just pass it down.
Sure.
This is just an update from what you already have.
okay, and everybody knows Lynn, right?
Is this a-
Greetings,
Hello.
Greetings from Lynn.
another year,
Okay, this is the,
another day, another dollar. This is exciting that you're being filmed now. Is this the first evening being filmed?
It's a surprise to us.
I thought it
From
was
time to
going,
time.
I thought I was the inaugural.
Well, they heard you were
Thank you.
coming,
They
and
said,
they
"So,
said,
let's
hey.
film it.
Okay, so now
have another
I'm
one.
doing the
Is
find the
this-
color tab. Do you know what color you are? Oh, you've got blue.
Oh, that's
what
exciting.
number are we on?
25?
Oh,
So, let me begin by saying thank you for having us once again this year, to chat about all things aging. First of all, just to clarify, I guess with Denise and FinCom all together, there's apparently, according to our accountant Ellen, $4,500 in the old Article 19 senior center design building fund. That's sort of a leftover balance from the initial foray.
Right, but that's done. The project failed, that money reverts back to free cash.
It's just very sad. I just thought I'd inquire about that before we went any further.
Nice try, Lynn.
When a project does not pass, the
If
money
you
closes
have
out.
no need for it, I know I do. So I just thought I'd throw that out
But
there.
it
Yeah,
does not
'cause-
work that way.
And yeah, Ellen had inquired and I said, I'm not sure if we're actually totally finished, but apparently we are.
Well, I don't know what else is going on, the project did not pass.
It did not,
So
no.
you'd have to start a whole new project and a whole new everything.
So that, those funds go back to the general fund, as it
Correct,
were.
it closes out to free
Free
cash.
cash, okay, yeah, Ellen was concerned about that, and I said, well, hold on, we'll wait till Denise comes back. So
Well,
there's that.
The good news is, when we get the free cash, we don't spend it all anymore. We put some of it into capital stabilization and other regular stabilization,
Saving is a good thing.
so that money would be there.
Should,
know,
should something
Not really
exciting
earmarked,
happen,
but
in a-
it would,
yeah,
it's not gonna disappear.
no, that's a good thing.
Okay, so
That's a
did you wanna
positive thing.
walk us through this first, or the budget?
Well, then I had another
Oh,
quick
go ahead.
comment with regard to, our expense line item going forward in 2020. When I went before the Board of Selectmen to request a new van, we talked about, the need to sort of have the current van, which we used to lease, but which we now own, to have that reviewed, to have perhaps Bill Green from the Highway Department take a look at it,
Okay.
give us his best guesstimate of any possible imminent, repairs that might be necessary, or things that ordinarily are required to be repaired, say, at its 60,000-mile checkup, which is really close to. By checkup, I mean service. And, I'm not sure, Bill Dunn had initially suggested $5,000, put that aside for next year. But in lieu of that, he removed that request and just simply asked Bill Green to take a look at it. So just FYI going forward, beyond the usual amount that we requested this year for expenses, where we're at now is $8,000. There may be the need for a few extra thousand for, possible repairs
Well,
for the van.
wait, so what line item would that be in your budget?
That's our expense line item.
So,
So we're currently requesting for 2020,
Right, but the
8,000.
selectmen did not remove that from the capital plan,
Which?
the van. They're still waiting, they kept it on the capital plan
Oh,
to
I
see what
didn't
Billy
know
Green had to
that.
say.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
then they were gonna decide how they were gonna fund
I'm
that.
still looking for this expense line.
She just has one,
Yeah, I
there's
just
just
have
one
one,
expense line.
just expenses.
So as you noted, it's
I see
an open
director's
item.
salary, I'm still
It
lost.
might increase should a repair situation be the most efficacious versus, going out for a new van, which didn't seem to fly at the Board of
Now,
Selectmen
Kathy.
meeting.
Go back.
I keep going past it, where is this little hidden expense
There I
line?
am. It's not
Oh,
really
this
hidden.
one.
It's
Oh,
just
it's
our,
the
it's
one
just
that-
our usual
So
expense
you
line
don't
item.
have an expense for the van itself, I was looking for something that said van expenses.
Oh, like a big, no, it's just, our expenses for the van are just part of our general expenses.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's in this $8,000?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what I
not,
took
not
from-
anything new. The 8,000 is just our general expenses, office supplies, software updates.
Could I make a suggestion that we
Sure.
split out, because van is an integral part of what you guys do. If you don't have that, there's not a lot gonna be going on for certain
Right, you
people. So I think we ought to have a maintenance line for.
I would say and a fuel, we've now split up fuel in every every budget that
Okay,
has a
so-
vehicle.
And,
Except that what we've done in the past is donations come in for use, for riding the van, fares, if you will, that are suggested donations. And so currently, we have a revolving account where donations come through and then we pay our gas bill through that.
Okay.
do they have to pay their gas bill through a revolving account?
No, it's how she chooses to manage
It's
it.
how we do it because we receive donations, so it's part of our revolving
Right.
account.
So, but we could still have fuel and maintenance, and your fuel could be very small in case the donations don't cover your fuel,
Right, you are,
right?
because they almost never do.
So we wanna have do you want two lines then, maintenance and fuel?
Yeah, van maintenance, make it explicit.
I would, if I may, I would
Go right
make it
ahead.
one line. If she's doing most of the fuel through the revolving fund, it doesn't make sense to add an additional fuel line. I would do vehicle, van maintenance and fuel, or you know, just make everything revolving around the van one line.
But not the software and the supplies.
Correct.
So what are we gonna call it?
So set it out separately.
I think
from
in
the
most of
general
them, it's called like
costs.
vehicle maintenance.
Yeah, okay, that's,
So let me get
Most
this
budgets,
right.
it's
All the maintenance of the van is gonna be paid out of this revolving account?
no, it's gonna be paid out of the new line on the budget that says vehicle maintenance.
Because in the past, we leased the van from Merrimack Valley Regional
Right.
Transit, and as a lease group, they conducted all the repairs.
and
Right.
now we own
And
it.
now
But
we
now
own
that
it.
it's ours, we're on the hook.
Right, so I think currently Lynn's using a combination of her expense budget and the revolving account to fund the vehicle, the van, when it either needs fuel and or annual inspections or maintenance.
Right.
So she's using a combination of both.
Right.
It's just to separate out whatever money you wanna dedicate for the van in a separate line item, so that can only be used for the van
Well-
purposes.
Well, how much should be in there for just regular maintenance now that we own it? What did the lease company used to pay for? How much?
Oh, I have no idea. We had no access to that figure.
I mean, tires on that thing's like $2,000.
I got poo-pooed for
They-
that
they-
though in
they're-
front of the Board of
It doesn't
Selectmen,
matter
FYI.
that you
They're
got
like,
poo-pooed,
"What?"
okay? It's
It's like, yeah,
common
they're
sense.
expensive.
So we don't need tires every year, so how do you?
I know, but there are brakes, I don't know what they
So I had put-
wanted to evaluate the truck first, but so far nothing's
But we
going
should
on
put a
with that.
number in now, at least a placeholder.
But yes, I would agree.
What bothers me here is, sorry,
Go ahead.
What,
is
John?
that we don't know how much the maintenance is costing because we've got this figure plus this money from the revolving account. We don't know how much is taken out of the revolving account, do we?
Not for
Oh, in terms
maintenance,
of the
nothing.
van?
Yeah.
Sure, I can tell you that it's about $150 to $200 a month for gas.
Just gas.
That's it.
That's it.
So it's only used for gasoline.
So far.
So let's,
And, you
All
know, an
right.
annual inspection and the revolving account but generally it's just usually
All right.
that.
but we need a placeholder, as
I
Kathy
would,
said.
I would think like
Put five
$5,000,
large and
$5,000,
But
you
now-
know.
It may go up.
But 5,000 would at least cover if they needed tires or brakes in 1 year.
Well, it has hydraulics for the lift, for the wheelchair.
Right, that's an issue, that can be.
So,
That's
somewhat
an
an
issue.
those aren't done at your local gas station, you don't bring it down
Right,
to
but something like that, if
Patty
that
and
were to
do
fail, that
It's
could be a
reasons.
reserve fund transfer. That's like a once in a while thing. I'm talking about the
Right.
regular things you're gonna fix on a van.
Yeah.
And
Like-
what will be helpful is, actually saw Bill Green, this week, and he was saying he hopes to have an opportunity to take a look at it at the end of this week, but we had the storm coming and blah, blah,
Oh, yeah.
blah. And so as that overview, that look is not crucial compared to plowing streets and taking care of that business, he will take an opportunity to do it, which I thought was terrific, seeing as he's a highway department guy, he has his hands full with that. So I thought it was kind that, you know, he'd have a look-see.
What's the body like on this?
It's the usual, it's not in bad shape, there's a little rust, nothing tragic.
But even if we were to buy a new van, we still need to have money for the maintenance.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause now we're not
Yeah,
leasing
no,
any
that's
longer.
not- that's not
So
the-
should we put like 4,000? I think we should
5 for now.
pick a number and
That was
put
the
it
number
there.
the selectmen originally came up, actually it went as high as 10
Okay.
at one point.
Are you
And
keeping the 8,000 then as a whole in the expense line, so you're just adding
Right,
5,000?
cause that 8,000 wasn't used for van maintenance really, it was used,
So
for
your
everything else.
inspection and anything you've needed all comes out of the revolving account?
No, it's actually, to be honest, inspections and things like that, have come out of our expense line.
Yeah,
items,
so,
just a general.
so there are some small monies that have been coming out of the expense line.
Yeah.
okay, but 5,000, I mean, they can't use this vehicle maintenance for anything else.
Correct.
And so they might have a little extra money in expense, but
And then the happy caveat is, if it's not used, it goes back to the,
Right, or I would recommend, using that line to pay for fuel, if it comes down to it, and then that frees up your revolving account for other programs that you're running.
good deal.
oh,
Could do
didn't
that.
think of that, okay. So, do we have a recommendation? To add the 5?
I'm confused, but that's okay.
Well, yeah, are we having 2 lines, maintenance,
Correct.
for the
Vehicle maintenance.
vehicle maintenance as well
And
as,
then just regular
and then
expenses.
just this other item here? So there's
Exactly.
2 items now.
Correct.
There's gonna be an 8,000 and a 5,000.
Yeah.
If that's what you
So
all
the
decide.
percentage
So that means
increase
it's
would
gonna
be s-
increase by an additional 5 grand.
Yes,
Right.
it's-
Okay,
percentage-wise, the percentage increase is gonna look large, but monetarily, it's still not gonna be
I understand. All
that
right.
much. Okay, so we'll do that.
So there's
for now.
that, so I appreciate that.
I will tell you though, keep in mind, I don't wanna be Debbie Downer, but we're going into this with a deficit before any budgets are looked at or
Okay.
cuts are made, so just so you know.
So we might have to trim a little bit.
Okay, now,
Let's
now
start
here's a
on-
thought, you know, in the interests of,
What?
decency and fair play.
Go for it.
Our expense line item, as you know, was puffed a little when we took ownership of this van. So our prior, expense line item, I suspect this is a skosh suicidal, but in any event, our original expense line item was $6,000. And I think we is that correct, Denise? If
I have to
that
pull that up.
rings a bell?
I'm looking
And I
on-
think,
on what
I
page
think
you're on.
FinCom kindly increased it by 2,000 to accommodate the fact that we were having some difficulties with the van, we had a few tires that we had to deal with, and
So would your budget be comfortable back at 6,000 for expenses if there was 5,000 for vehicle maintenance?
that'd be super, that'd be super,
Oh, here we go.
cause we're kind
So
of a
then
low
it's
budget
Look at that,
department.
what a deal.
Wow.
Just
All
like
right, so
that.
6 for the general
Six.
expenses.
Yeah, I mean, I
And then
consider that
5 for the
that's-
van maintenance.
fair.
Got it,
Okay.
I was gonna say what I usually say, but we're being televised, so I'll just skip it.
alright. Moving on, yeah?
Careful.
Moving right along. All
Right
right,
on,
Let's
so
see
down
the
to
good
6,000.
stuff.
So we both
Um,
said a little bit, okay.
I had submitted with my trustee annual report, a hard-to-read, break out your magnifier spreadsheet on compensation within the Merrimack Valley for cities and towns
Oh, I see, yeah.
of other COAs.
Thank you.
So it's super small, but, it has some important information. And what essentially that spreadsheet indicates is that the Council on Aging is sort of underpaid, if you will, for various positions that are listed. For instance, when you look at towns of similar size, and we're going with, you know, Groveland, say we're at about a population of 7,000. So we're looking at, for instance, Oxford, Georgetown, Groveland, Rowley, West Newbury. Others are paid more, working less hours when you work it that way. So I wanted to include that so that you knew I wasn't just blowing air. Just to let you know what else happens in the rest of the world.
May I interject here? a
You may.
moment? Did we have this, professional, group that looks at salaries or whatever, is that still in existence or not?
The Collins
Okay.
Center?
No, we used to have a
Okay,
personnel
so,
department.
No, I usually do it if if we're looking for a new position, I'll go out and do salary surveys and get
Okay,
comparables.
Okay, the question I guess is, last year I think we went up 2.5%, is that right?
2%, the same thing this year, 2%.
Okay, so this is, Lynn's asking for 3% more than what
Correct.
everyone else is
Right,
getting,
and
okay.
two,
Based on the fact that comparable to
three
these
positions are
others,
going
okay.
up 5% and two positions are going up 2.5%. According to this chart.
I'd be happy if it was just the first 3 positions. Part of my purpose is this, in seeking a slightly higher salary compensation for the folks in our department. When I showed you this item, comparable salaries within
Yeah.
town hall, that in and of itself is somewhat discouraging, based on who we are and what we do and how many of us are involved.
Right,
Single office personnel, you know, receive considerably more than the folks in the Council on Aging. I have spoken to Denise about it, she and I chatted a little briefly about the fact that we really don't have a salary structure within town hall. There are no steps, as there are in some other areas, other towns and so on. That's possible to conduct. It's just not happening now. And so I'm concerned going forward, that we continue as municipal employees to continue to be behind the 8 ball. We, for instance, are looking at going forward in 2020, a 3.3% increase in GIC health insurance. You know, we all got an email to that effect
Right,
recently.
okay.
So there's that. Folks who are on Social Security are receiving a 2.8% cost of living adjustment this year.
Okay.
And again, this year, we're still at 2.2%. And when you look at the Council on Aging and you look at other departments within our town, either both myself as a, department head
Yeah.
and, others in our department, I think it's fair, given what we do and how well we do it.
Right.
This is the first time in the history of my municipal life that I've ever come seeking an increase in our salaries.
Yeah.
I have not ever in the past. Have we whined quietly in the background about the small percentages that have in the past occurred? Yes.
So, just, the part-time are hourly, so that would be an hourly change to the rate for the part-time, the outreach worker?
They're both hourly folks, our
Okay.
outreach worker and our program
So-
coordinator.
That hourly rate, do you have that in this,
Mhm.
is this the current hourly rate here?
Yep.
So then that would go up to 5%.
Correct.
Oh, okay, so we have that
Correct.
information, does everyone see that? So we have the
Mm.
current hourly rate here for these part-time workers in that chart, the part-time workers, PT, there's two.
We have to.
And
We-
the van drivers, we could keep constant because.
We could, because I think
Offset a
based
little
on other communities, they're fairly
Oh,
compensated.
okay,
And based on the fact, that we've had a bit of a revolving door, but
Okay.
we don't right now. And that pleases me no end. We have wonderful staff at the moment. Our outreach worker is fabulous. She's in the throes of beginning, in the spring, her master's program in social work. Even though she only works 10 hours town funded, we fund another, 4 hours each week
okay.
out of our formula grant.
Oh, okay.
She's well received, she's wonderful at what she does, she's thorough, she's accurate, and people like her, they trust her. It's an important position in our department because, you know, the ability to trust someone to come into your home and to help you with very sensitive issues is I think very important. Our program coordinator who also, does data entry and transportation coordination, which is huge in our department, has increased site participation through some great lunches and great programs that she's provided. We have some new programming in fitness and wellness. She is our new, over the past couple of years, social media presence, which is important, and a valuable asset. My own small self, I'm Shine certified, which is something that most COA directors are not.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be important going forward. I have happily participated and with, again, some whinging and whining in the background, with our personal advisory board. And that I think has been an important contribution.
Yeah.
Also being a participant in the building committee as that went forward and sadly failed.
Yep.
So I think
Does help.
those pieces, warrant what we've asked.
So would you be willing to resubmit this page to show no change to the van drivers and then just the requested 5% changes?
I would,
Because that way we could show it on the warrant.
more
get that-
clearly.
And could we also get, if you email this to Denise or I'm sure we can get a better, I would like to be able to see.
I know.
This is no way I can read this
It's-
too well, I trust
I
you.
had originally made it a bunch of years back,
Okay.
and each year, new members of the Merrimack Valley COA Directors Group,
Right,
we sort of meet quarterly,
right.
and it's been taken over by other people, so when I finally got it back, the formatting was kind of funky.
Right,
And what I could certainly do is remove the cities that are considerably larger than ours,
yes.
and just focus on those,
That would be good.
and that would shrink it so that you're able at least
Thank
to
you.
read it.
Thank you,
I mean,
yes.
or I could just, if you email it, which I have, you can read it pretty easily, so I
Okay,
can just email it as
So-
it is.
I mean, speaking
That
from,
survey.
I just say one thing and
Yes,
then,
yes, yes.
can you go
It's
second,
just-
or you gotta go first?
Go ahead.
Go first, you're first, he's ready.
You are going to put in here that the software office supplies is 6,000
Correct,
and
yeah.
van maintenance is
Thank you,
5,000.
yeah.
So those two items.
So
are
submit
gonna be
that to,
covered.
them.
Okay.
Thank
Is that what you were gonna say?
you. No, I was gonna say something totally different. Thank you.
Carry on.
Okay, so all I was gonna say is, I mean, I think, you know, one time we should look at this, but and do this. My personal opinion, the committee's not gonna vote tonight.
Right, I understand.
But hopefully getting on a town manager, then that position could do exactly what you're saying and set in those steps so that we know we're fairly compensating people, because unfortunately
Right.
it puts you in the position of having to come in here and
A little
But to-
begging.
I know, and I feel badly about that, that's all we have right now in place here, because it's not the best system.
Right.
Right, and it all goes back to what we talked about at the last meeting, that's why we don't have performance evaluations, cause you don't have one entity overseeing all the staff. People are
Right.
answering to boards and committees that will, whether they like the employee more or not, they're gonna give a favorable or unfavorable
And as we always
recommendation
say,
and merit increase.
as we always say, the difficulty is I can do a piss poor job
Behind.
and I will be compensated as well as
Yep.
someone who's just outstanding. So you
Right.
can go the extra mile, it won't make a difference.
Right.
But that's the nature, I think, of municipal life when we work it the way we
Right.
currently do.
Right, but also, you may have one department that works for board or committee that just does not like the person and says they're a poor employee when they may be a very good employee.
Exactly.
And then you have someone that works for a board that thinks they're the most wonderful thing in the world and they're not
Exactly.
doing the job,
Right,
so
Right,
Right.
right,
until
exactly.
you sort of remove those other layers as well.
And then we also have the posse approach to, submission of expenses.
Yes.
I'm gonna come in with my posse of 6 people,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna
right.
overpower you with a large number, and we'll
Right.
go with that. Here's the other piece that is important to keep in mind, it's succession planning.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I won't
Write
be
that
here
down.
forever.
No?
What?
As none of us will be here forever.
Right.
So
Don't
I think-
remind me.
That's the reality.
So going forward, I think it's always important to
You're right.
to
no.
prepare for the next steps and to be able to have some sort of consistency. As as Denise has indicated with regard to the town manager spot that perhaps will go forward, I think that's an important piece to
Right.
keep in mind, that we want to attract people to come into our small town. We don't, just talking about the Council on Aging, we don't have our own building, we don't have our own facility. How are we going to attract really terrific, bright, not stale individuals to come and work in the Council on Aging here in Groveland when we have this sort of limited income situation, not a great facility in terms of choices, because we are frequently bumped. Election day comes, can't use the big room for programs and events.
Right. Yeah.
Special meetings occur, you get bumped. So that can be somewhat of an issue. And I think it's just important to have some choices, because there are some wonderful next level employees in other cities and towns who are seeking advancement, would like a director's position, and it would be great if we could attract such folks, let alone within our own department.
Good. Well, I think you do a phenomenal job with.
Thank you.
You take a little bit of stuff and you make it look like a lot. I mean,
We-
you do a
we
lot with it.
try.
And
We
so-
don't always succeed,
So,
but
I
we
mean,
try.
I appreciate what you do, and I see your newsletters, you've got so many activities going, it's as if we have a senior center, because
Right,
it's
right.
just so active, and I've heard feedback from Jack Callahan.
Oh, good.
And
Oh,
everybody's-
yeah.
He said, I love those trips. And he's not a guy that's,
No.
he loved the bus trips. So if you could submit those 2 pages, that way the request would be
Absolutely.
in, if we're able to do the recommendation. If anything changes, and keep in mind Denise has her reins on the revenue stream for us, and if it changes and we feel like there might not be able to, support it, we definitely would have you come back. We would not blindside you. It would
Oh,
be
I appreciate
all up
that.
on
Yeah,
the
I
table,
appreciate that.
And we'd have a good conversation. Hopefully we won't.
However it shakes out.
However, we don't.
I
hope that-
appreciate the time, I appreciate everybody's
Oh.
great questions, it makes a difference, for me at least. And
See, John,
next,
good questions.
we have
Okay.
the police.
That, I know, don't keep them waiting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Do we get to see the police department today?
yes,
Yes,
right now.
coming attraction.
And then the fire department.
And then the
What
fire, we're doing
Thank
public.
you.
What
Did you
happened
want
to
to see
the,
extras?
You
what
can
happened
hang
to
on
the
to
sewer
that.
Okay, thanks a lot,
and water?
appreciate
You've
it.
got it.
I
Okay.
guess
Alright,
they were
thanks
supposed
so
to be
much,
here at the very
everyone.
beginning and
Okay,
they didn't
alright.
come, so I guess they're not coming.
Okay.
Water and sewer, you mean? Yeah, I can invite again, they may not need to see us. I clarified a few things in a
All
follow-up
right,
conversation.
okay.
Hello.
Keep bumping.
there a resident in the building?
Why is there what?
Why is there a resident in the building?
I don't know.
See, you thought
How you doing, Chief?
you got rid of me, you see.
I know, I'm surprised to
It's
see you
not,
here.
it's not going to happen.
I wouldn't want it, I really wouldn't. It'd be so boring without you. I wouldn't want it.
Good, how are you?
He keeps it real.
It does, he's sincere though.
What color did they give you this year?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They didn't give you blue.
I would hope blue.
No, we didn't give you blue last year either.
All right. What section is that?
He is in the dark green, number 16.
Wait,
16.
everything you wanna know is in 16.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, yes, no, yes.
Everybody knows everybody here, I take it.
No.
yes, I,
Okay, good, great.
I'm sorry, did you say 16?
16, the dark green tab. All right, so we're gonna let you just go. Tell us what you want to tell us.
so I'm looking at my, first one, the budget detail worksheet, and it says the police chief salaries on the top.
Yeah,
Everything there was based on the contractual raises at the top, the first three at least. Probably the biggest change, I'm asking for an additional full-timer this year.
okay, right here.
That's based on a few things, I think the growth of the town, the projection of reserves maybe being phased out someday.
Oh,
A lot of the meetings I go to, a lot of communities don't use reserves, a lot still do, but it's just with policing changing and getting more complicated, you're not gonna see reserves probably in the future. They're making it now that reserve officers have to have the same amount of in-service training every year that full-timers do, which was never like that before. Just for an example, the firearms training for reserves, a new reserve went from 20 hours to 56 hours, so every time we hire a new reserve, we have to give them 56 hours of just firearms. We haven't hired a new full-time officer in several years, and back then we needed two, and we only asked for one just because of budgetary reasons. And what this would do, it's not gonna add to the force, it's gonna fill one position that's filled with just reserve officers.
oh, I see.
So that's why I took,
So what's the addition just for that,
What's the net?
yeah?
It should be on the next page, I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. I don't see it.
62 grand, about the fifth from the bottom.
Yeah, new
New
officer,
officer.
62.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's taking out just, and the offsetting 15, 600?
what I did to offset it,
Yeah, that
I took out actually
60,
20,000,
Oh,
and the reason why you're only seeing 15 is because the increase for reserves, I'm assuming
Oh,
2% for
okay.
reserves, so that ate up
okay.
some of that. And if you also see contractually, a couple of the officers are getting step raises, and that's kind of a significant hit to that patrolman's line item. So if I didn't take that 20,000, it would have been a more significant increase. I did leave some of the money from that open, that reserve position in hopes of, again, where we're getting busier, we only run 2 full-time officers on the 3 to 11 shift and the 11 to 7 shift.
so you won't need another car or anything for the
No.
new office?
No, sir.
Taser gun,
No.
pistols?
I might use a little more gas, but
Bullets.
I'll watch it.
What are you offering? Oh my God.
So that doesn't represent all of that money from the reserve shift that will be filled. I'm hoping to have a little bit to, just even a couple nights a week, fill in a third officer on the 3 to 11 when needed. But I did take, like I said, 20,000 to offset the full-time position.
This may, what is pay step compared to contractual increase?
I put, well, contractual was the 2%
Yeah,
contractual.
okay,
And
yeah.
then the step raise is also contractual.
That's what I thought, so they're both
Yeah.
in the contract.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so they're both contractual, we're
Yes.
obligated to pay, we've signed the contract.
Yes, that's
Okay.
more for the non-contractual, like those that are not in a union, would get like the 2% cost of living, we sort of put it under.
No, I was looking at the breakout on the page that showed pay step and then contractual increase, and I just wondered why they weren't just both listed as contractual.
Right, cause that's more for the departments that don't have union contracts.
like the
Those
reserves,
two
the
different-
reserves don't have a contract and they're not
Right.
contractual.
question, you were mentioning
Not
this
the
20,000, but I see here it's 15,600. Is that the 20,000?
Yes,
Yeah, cause
So
they,
it's 15,600.
it's
It's
actually,
net of 15,000.
yeah, cause
Because
they,
the-
He just explained a minute
cause
ago.
they gave a raise to the, reserves.
Oh,
So
that's
But
that-
it's
right.
eaten up, the other 5,000 is eaten up in the increases.
Both John and I are still going, I'm still circling around the pay step versus, do you understand, I'm talking about the two officers getting the
Cause
pay
the
step.
two, right, cause the two officers actually get a step, but they still have steps within their schedule.
Right, and that's in the contract,
yes.
Correct.
right, so these are both
Okay, so
contractual raises.
that's the 70.
Correct,
the
but one's
14.
considered an actual step and the other ones are just the contractual.
But they're,
If
both
they're-
raises are, we're contractually bound to these
Yes,
raises. That's all I'm
yes.
trying to get, okay, yep, that's what
Why
I
is
thought.
one negative?
Oh,
Cause his shift changed.
So what we've got here is we've got two guys that
Bless that.
had their steps
No, when they
increased
work
by
the night, they
seven
get
thousand
the
five
shift
hundred,
differential.
Yeah.
which is $1,500, let's say. $15,000.
$15,000.
And then we've got $15,000 taken out of the reserve officers.
yes,
And then we've got an additional new officer, so the bill essentially has gone up 62 grand, is that what you're saying?
I'd say more like 42.
Where did the 20 get saved? I can't
we
see
didn't,
it.
well, you know, it,
Well,
yeah, it's, you're not
I
gonna
know it's
win this with
confusing.
John.
If I took the 20,000 out of that savings, it's still gonna go up probably at least 5,000 because of the 2% raise to the reserve officers.
Oh,
Yeah,
which you haven't, have you put it in here?
And the full-time is
Is that in here?
in place of, the reserve officers
Oh,
are going
oh, yeah.
out when the full-time comes in.
Oh,
So it's the
okay.
pay
So there-
differential
that
between the
has gone up.
full-time and the
Yes,
reserve.
Between the 92 and the 107, because that wasn't clear, because you'd cut reserve officer.
yes.
Yes.
Ah, and there is an increase there,
There's probably a $5,000 increase
increase
in
on
the
the
reserve
reserves.
because of the 2% to that
Okay.
line item.
Okay,
But I took 20,000 out of that, like a savings. So if you take the 20 and then, you know,
I don't see where that 20
Hospital.
came from.
he was, okay, it's,
I
it is
want to
what you.
understand it, that's all.
You do understand it, you just don't, it's not really, you lowered the reserve amount by 20, but reserves got a raise, so it wasn't quite, the raise brought them back up. So it offsets the new officer a little bit, but you're right, the 15,000 of
That's for what?
step, wash, yeah, it's, yes. So you can look at it any which way you want. He did say bringing in the full-time officer, reserve time is reduced, so that
Right.
did happen. It's not washing out though because of the step raises, financially speaking,
Okay,
but.
so how much money have we gone up? 7.55%.
So, yeah, well, I'm looking at this one lease, that maybe could, that I would like explanation. Am I
Which
under-
one?
The one that's $130,000 percent increase, the one that says
Jeff,
$1.
your vehicle lease,
Yeah, why is,
the new
Well, I didn't
vehicle
get down to the
proposal.
board. So are we all set at
Oh,
the
okay.
top now? Or?
oh, yeah, I think we are, right? We went
Okay.
through that, yeah,
Um,
thanks.
So in hopes of this lease, which I'll explain,
Oh, okay.
I've zeroed everything out as far as no increase to hope,
Oh, okay.
win you all over on this request of a lease. Right now, we have, all our unmarked that the officers use are all 2007s. There's 3 of them, and one was a drug recovery seizure, 2007. One was a grant SUV, 2007. And the third one was a lease, and that's a 2007. What I've noticed recently is they're just costing a lot of money to maintain, they're starting to rot out. With 3 of them, they're not used a lot, because of the 3, so they really just becoming messy and a little bit of a hindrance to have. However, we still need them for certain things. So I come up with this idea to get rid of all 3 of those and buy one police-rated pickup truck, new, and I would lease it over 3 years. And the officers could use that for undercover radar, drugs, going to court, going to training. The emergency management department would use that for storms to tow the EMD trailer. We'd use it at the range. I noticed at the range, when we went last time, officers are using their own vehicles to get the targets and everything else that has to get out to the pits. We could use it for the target area.
Okay,
So
So we'd lease it, we're not gonna buy it?
After 3 years, you can buy it for $1.
Okay, that's the dollar, okay, that
Yeah.
part was.
No,
like-
you
Well-
put a dollar in for
Yeah,
the,
that's-
for the calculation of the spreadsheet. If
So
you
you
put a
wouldn't
zero, you
divide by
can't
zero.
divide by zero.
Yeah, that's not defined.
Yeah, so the,
Don't need to tell Kathy.
Don't need to tell me that twice.
So
So
the-
I-
Told me
if
no.
I can just, so I will say on that, what you can't see on his budget is, there would be obviously savings by getting rid of 3 vehicles, cause we insure each vehicle separately,
Oh,
you know, the maintenance on each vehicle. So there would be savings that are not within his budget that are covered by, the town side. Just-
any idea ballpark wise what might be?
No, I'd have to look, but we pay, it's probably $800 to $1,000 for each vehicle.
Okay, so like $3,000 maybe, so it's a
Yeah.
small bump.
It's a savings.
So, the main reason for this is the other vehicles,
well, the age,
the age, they're not good enough,
You'll see
they're
there
not
is.
good enough
They're
anymore.
putting too
You
much
get
money
this
into it.
right, you've
Yes.
got, you had, before you used to have 3 vehicles and then you had a new one brought in and that kind of shimmy around a bit and keeping all them up to date.
yes.
But now we're passing on that procedure, is that right?
No, that's still in
That's
place.
still in place.
These are
Those-
not patrol vehicles
Those are,
we're talking about.
those are patrol vehicles.
Okay, oh,
These
this
are-
is something else.
These are the unmarked that we use
Oh,
for, like
the
I said,
unmarked vehicles.
for all kinds of reasons.
Animal control they use it for.
Well, that
Okay.
heroin arrest they just had, they did that with an undercover vehicle this weekend.
So
You know,
you'll
that's
be
what-
able to get one, I just gotta get the math.
How does
You
3
got
go to
3
1?
vehicles you can use now, and you're gonna go to 1.
Yes.
So the other 3 are really not utilized hardly at all.
They are, but with 3 of them, they're not used as, you know, like break it down.
Are you
just
gonna
stick 'em-
keep one of those 3?
No, I wanna get rid of all 3,
All 3?
yeah,
So these are all, these are the unmarked vehicles, these 3.
yes.
2007.
Okay.
2007, they're all, just by coincidence, they're all 2007 vehicles.
So they're all gradually falling apart. is
And we
that
would
it?
have to spend maintenance on them if we're gonna keep them, right? Right?
Yeah, well, just last week,
I had to drive
Go
one
to-
back from a surveillance that I was doing, a month ago,
yeah.
because it was starting to buck as I was sitting there. and
What
I-
kind, what
So it's the
I
Ford
had to drive it
Explorer,
back to the station before it just stopped right where I was.
and we got it to the garage, and it
Is
was,
it here
it
to
was
help
basically
push it?
sparked, it was $400, just,
Okay,
so it was nothing major, but,
so they're turning into a money pit.
yep, and just the safety of them, just the rust and the maintenance, and
So this lease will equip that truck with lights and
I would
hidden
equip it.
lights? and-
I would equip it with lights. I'd either, we could talk about that, if I could sell one of those vehicles and get money to put lights in it, or I would just figure that out at a later time.
I guess what bothers me is that there's.
Why does
good-
anything bother you?
It's always bothers me.
That's how he
What
starts
bothers me here is that
It's okay.
we've got 3 vehicles that have just essentially run out of their gas, they're past it. You're gonna need to replace them, aren't you, at some point?
Well, that's what my plan is to
The-
try
the-
with
the
the.
truck does part of that, but what, as Jim has just commented, you're gonna replace one of them?
That's what this is.
That's what the truck is.
He's gonna go
Oh,
from,
that's one truck, that doesn't replace 3.
Well, if we're concerned, I could keep one of them and just, but I was trying to sell this idea by making it beneficial to the town.
Well, how
Like-
often do you use 2 of these old things at the same time?
depends on what
Very
crimes
rarely.
are
Very
on.
rarely.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
I mean, there is time, but that isn't a concern. For me, it would be worth it to have a reliable new vehicle that would be under warranty for 3 years. And,
I understand it, the only thing is, once that you've got that, next year you'll come in for a new vehicle for replacing
the Cruiser, yes.
That's
no,
capital.
No, one of the 3
Oh,
is what,
for the.
To add on
why would
to.
I do that?
He only
You
needs
normally
one.
have 3.
No,
But he
They don't
only
need-
needs one.
they
I believe
didn't,
I can get by with one.
the plan was never to purchase 3 of these. One came through a grant, you said at the beginning, one through a drug, something, we
Yeah,
took it away from
so if we
somebody?
sell that, I have to give half the money
Right, it was
back to the
seized.
district attorney's
Right, it was
office.
seized, so we kinda stumbled onto
so you
these.
ended
Oh,
up with
okay.
3.
All
You
right,
didn't
sorry.
Yes.
I had
to
visions that
have
somehow we
acquired
picked up
three.
these 3
No.
intentionally,
consolidate.
okay.
No.
The last one was the drug seizure, and I thought that the officers could use that, cause we're part of a program where we work with other communities. And to be quite honest, it smells so bad, nobody will drive it.
Oh,
And you can, and I will take you first into that vehicle, and you'll see what I mean.
okay, thank you. I'll pass,
Okay.
John. Who
Oh,
was-
yeah, You're such a good
Anybody,
guy.
anybody wanna sign up for that test
You got
drive?
any more
Let me
questions,
put that on
John?
my calendar.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is a tough
so
year.
do we
All
understand
right,
this?
got it, got the
Yeah,
point,
we
got
do.
the point. Took me a while, but I get there.
Okay. Okay, be probably good to put a note or something in there
All
that
right.
says this.
Hmm.
These are 2007 vehicles obtained,
I think in my cover letter, I did a
right, yeah,
pretty thorough job,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
I explained it.
Yes, well, no, I'm sure you did, I'm just saying, when we get to the town meeting, try and figure out some way to get a one sentence something on the omnibus near that, just because of the way it looks, $1, you know, definitely gonna beg a question.
I mean, again, I know it's financial.
I
Could
think
see-
they can talk
I
to
could
that.
notice.
Right, but on the
several-
omnibus, we won't have the $1, cause I know that there was nothing budgeted for that line item last
Okay,
year.
you
So the
just-
omnibus is gonna show a 0 in fiscal 19.
Okay, you're just gonna make it work, of course you will.
Okay,
It'll work. Okay, cause the $1 threw me off. Okay, so, what else, team?
I think I'm good.
I'm good too.
Good.
Okay. So overall, we're looking at a 7.5% increase overall for the whole budget? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
And that, like I said, I put everything else, I didn't add anything.
Okay.
Not because we're just so rolling in money, but I thought to be respectful of that request, that,
Okay,
things are doing very well, by the way, you know, with, holding things together and being
Good.
responsible
good.
with the budget.
Oh, would this cost be there next year then too? This lease would go on
Yes.
for,
Yeah, it's a
Three-
it's a
three-year.
three-year lease.
and then we could buy it
And
at
then
the
we-
end of that? Okay, so we get that in the budget next year too, okay. So once we build it in, then it's sitting there.
You have all these sticky notes down there.
Yes, that's how I remember things
You
that I'm supposed to
opened a
do.
whole new
That's-
door.
Don't even get me
One,
started.
one of my sticky notes was, I just wanted to mention if I could, if I have, if I can just take 1 minute. Our new, maintenance, and I don't know what his position officially is called, maintenance
Facilities
manager.
Yep,
He's doing an unbelievable job. It's probably the best I've seen, and I've been here 28 years. I mean, he's really responsible. He's just going all the time. And me being somebody that's kind of picky with wanting to keep that station looking nice and keeping things together, he's a godsend. And I went to Denise and I had asked her when I said, can we make sure we can save this guy? Because you guys are welcome to come through and look at the station, and you'll see what I mean. I was in the fire station yesterday, and that place is spotless too.
good.
You know, the kitchen, the floors, and you can see, so I had asked Denise, so she said she's gonna try to do something for him, and for whatever it's worth, I support anything we can do for him, as long as you don't take my truck.
Just, not this.
But,
But
Don't just look at me, I'm not the
Yeah.
big honcho here.
I know, he's doing a great job, and I would just,
I think it's
support
great that
anything
you're
we can do, so.
noticing that, cause I think that's important to him. I bumped into him in the hallway, and we've heard from other departments the same thing, really, really great, great
Well, it just
reviews.
continues on, when the station's clean, they keep it clean, and
Yeah.
people feel better, and it's just even the health of the people in that building, it's sanitary, and it's,
Great.
it's just going
Well,
really well,
that's,
so.
it's good to hear
Yeah.
that we've
Yeah.
got some good, good employees that, go up and beyond, it sounds like,
Right.
from
Yeah.
even
Take
comments
pride.
Very
Denise has
responsible,
made.
and I think he cares about what he's doing, and, I just know him from working here, but this seems a good fit for the
Yeah.
town.
Great. Do we have any more questions tonight?
No.
Okay, so you know kind of how it works, but just to say it again, so at this point Denise will give us at some point a more firm revenue forecast. We'll
Okay.
see where it is. If for any reason what you're requesting here we wouldn't be able to support it, we'd of course invite you back to have the discussion, see
Okay.
what we can do.
Okay.
It's just that we see that down the road, that if there's a shortage of money and you want a 7.5% increase, you are going to get a hit. That's what they're trying to tell you.
I understand that.
Okay.
No.
I just wanted to lay it
No,
out.
I'm always respectful to the budget.
John,
Yes.
He's
Yes.
torpedoing us.
Yes, Jimmy, what were you going to say,
I
Jimmy?
was saying we need to move on.
I
Yes.
agree.
Keep the meeting.
I agree, let's move on.
Thanks for coming on,
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
being with us,
Appreciate it.
appreciate it, yeah, good.
Thank you for
Everyone
being
good?
here again.
Thank you.
Fun to have John here.
I love it.
We
Oh,
love
God.
It's never dull.
Thank
I
you.
know. Never, okay,
All
great,
right.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care, thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Okay.
good night.
Say hi to Linda.
I will.
Are they, I thought it was a fire.
What?
Yeah, I think they're in the lobby.
I guess what bothers me here is that, did we get the agenda ahead of time?
Yeah, it was
How
on that.
long? 2 days?
No, I sent it out, I think, a week ago and then
Okay,
last
it's my
night
fault then,
again.
it's my fault, okay,
I
okay.
sent it
All right, it's okay.
twice.
Yeah, I should
Yeah,
have
all
looked,
the-
I should
the
have looked at these
attachments,
items
yeah.
beforehand.
It's okay.
No,
Well,
no, it isn't okay.
But the
Easy,
good thing
John.
is you don't vote the same night, so you can still go back and
Right.
read it all
No,
and
I
then put
got
your
it,
thoughts
I got it,
together.
I got it.
Right.
Okay. Who's next, the fire
The
department?
fire department.
Okay. Okay, all right.
I know the brotherhood, the
Stop,
brother,
you're on camera, Jim.
Could be nice.
brotherhood.
He's gonna be nice.
Fire, which section is the fire department?
It should be the next section from police.
Hey, that's,
It should be interesting then.
yeah, it's
Only one
17.
page, she was divided.
oh, one page, everything I wanna know, okay, great.
We know how you like your one page.
It's all consolidated.
You
I've
know,
been doing that, I work too much proposal, I'm like, back of my head, I look at one page,
One
and
page,
one
one
page.
There's too many people, I gotta leave.
Hi there.
So,
Well,
is this,
Karen,
is this the hot seat?
you, yeah, join the
Yeah,
table,
right. I'll sit over here.
let's do, come on up.
oh,
We're gonna start summary, so I just introduced, I'm Kathy Castronell, this is Chuck,
Hi
My name
there.
is Jeff Manning.
Jeff,
Yes.
why did I call you Chuck then?
He looks like a
I'm so
Chuck.
sorry, Jeff.
no worries.
Why were you Chuck?
You know the funny part? That's just gonna be his new nickname.
I'm so sorry. And Richie York is the acting chief.
are you on the fire department?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is their new uniform, they're going a little more formal.
No, I just got out of work.
I'm just kidding.
This is my daytime uniform.
He's one of them good-looking firefighters, you know?
I'm offended.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, we're good at this. So, do we know John Osborne?
No, he doesn't.
I believe I've met you before, but not in this capacity. So, how you doing, John?
Delicate as always.
Delicate, very good.
I sense there's an undercurrent there, but keep going.
Jim Scanlon.
How you doing,
I
Jim?
know Denise.
Denise? what's
I'm
your name?
Ruth Rivard.
Hello.
Teresa Dunn.
Hello, Teresa.
Hello.
You
Great.
related to William?
Yes.
Great.
Would you be like his wife?
Yes, I am.
Nice to meet you.
Same here.
So.
Are you kidding with me?
No,
What
no,
was
I've
your-
not, I don't believe I've
Because I don't know
ever
whether
met.
No.
Last name?
You knew
Manning,
him though,
Manning
right?
and I
Thank
did.
you.
I know
Okay,
there had
so
to be
the
some brains on
minute.
the
Let me see what
operation.
Oh,
color
okay.
they gave you guys this year.
I won't tell them that.
So here, I just gave a few copies. This is, I just revised a little bit on
Okay,
what I
let me just
submitted, so.
first find,
It's the next
okay,
one, Kathy.
you guys are like a,
17.
an orangey
Make it
color this
easier.
year. I don't know, okay, so this
It's
is,
right after the
so-
police department, one
okay,
page.
so we're going to, okay, there, let me make the copies.
In
of this.
Washington DC.
So, bear with me, this is my first time,
In the hot seat.
yeah, basically under the gun here.
You'll do fine. Is the new one, the amount gone down?
Here, why don't you start these,
Actually, no,
Denise, send one to Denise, I'm making some black and white, so can you get?
John, take
Did,
one.
have you changed it since you submitted this?
I did,
Oh, you did?
yeah, I just moved some money around.
It's-
Okay.
it's-
And I
it's
was gonna
still
say that I
580.
increased it like $80,000 and I was gonna sell it for
He
10,000, but
just skipped it some things.
start high, sell
Did
low.
I have a- Yep, and I got a couple extras, okay, we're
Is
good?
this after we spoke yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna draw a line through this guy completely, right?
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
simple,
this
it's
is
only a
the-
minor
This is the
correction
new
on this.
one
I know, I just said.
has, 213. Excellent.
This is Denise purchased the whole place. We're so spoiled here.
Oh,
I had to punch my own.
I know, she does, she does
everything.
She does, yes. Okay, so what, you wanna, the way we do it, if you'd like, you can walk us through it, and then they'll ask questions. We don't tend to vote all the budgets right now, we just tend to ask questions and get clarification until we get the revenue forecast and see how everything looks.
Sure.
Okay.
I consider this a living document anyhow, because it,
Okay.
you know, I mean, this is, again, I've been, in this position since, June 1st.
Okay.
And as an interim position, so, at that time, I'm still learning the ropes a little bit and trying to do what I can do as fiscally responsible as I can to assist the, you know, the citizens of Groveland here.
Okay.
Alright, so basically the fire chief salary, is just level funded, just the 2% basically increase. Firefighter wages is again, 2% increase, so there's been just the normal 2% increase there, no additional wages. So the fire inspection wages, I increased that from 5 to 10,000. And the reason that I did that is we're looking at, I'm kind of being proactive here, looking at increasing and putting in a proposal to increase our fees that we charge for some of our inspection services. And right now, we charge on average 25 for a smoke or a tank inspection. Some of them are $50, but the inspector gets about, I think it's $20
Right.
per inspection. There's been a lot of issues with people canceling at the last minute. You know, these people take time, since we're not a full-time department, people take time, get home from work early so that they can meet to help, you know, facilitate getting these inspections done. And last minute, they're getting a phone call, I'm not gonna be able to make it today, can we reschedule? So my thing is to increase a little bit on what they're gonna get for their salary on that. So that's something that I would like to see. Also is the increase in inspections that are starting to happen. All the development going in town is gonna require a lot more inspections. And I mean, I need to have people out there to do these. It's not something I wanna do. These are mandated inspections that we have to get done. So I am, you know, by doubling it, gives me a little leeway, plus or minus on that.
Right, so does this go in line with what the building inspector was telling us about the new development and the third party thing? Am I confusing
No.
things?
No, I don't think
No.
you'd have that.
This
built
has
in.
nothing to do with that, so that's
That
something
is
totally
correct.
different, okay?
This is actual feet
Just-
on the ground,
Just people selling their homes.
selling
Not
homes,
these new
having
development.
tanks removed, installed,
Right.
require inspections.
Okay.
But the review of the plans of these future developments.
Oh, so, okay, cause I thought we were doing that to a third party, that's what I'm asking again.
No,
That's not a
Sam
big
has
job.
recommended that for certain projects, the fire
for
department use it.
for big projects like Nichols Village,
Yeah,
like
right.
we kinda missed the boat on that one.
Yeah,
So that's, you know, trying to get
Right.
that done on our shoulders has really been tough, so.
no, we support what Sam's doing.
Yeah, but anything like that, any big project over a certain size, that would go out to a third party,
Third
that
party.
the
Okay.
construction would be covered, you know, the fee would be covered by the person who's
The
doing the
third-
construction.
The third party,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's, so
Correct.
that's not in this
It-
at
no,
all?
they're not.
Okay, no, that's, I was just trying to
So
clarify
this
that.
is routine. fires.
Routine inspections, we do truck inspections for any trucks in town that carry tanks. We do smoke inspections, we do oil tank, furnace, anything to do with hazardous waste.
Is this cost neutral, in other words, do your fees cover the 5,000?
Yes, the fees, actually, we charge, right at the moment, we're charging 25 on some, 50 on others, and we pay 20 to the inspector.
Right,
So
so
the
that-
town actually gets a little bit back
So
on
it's,
top of that.
it just doesn't show up in this budget because it's
Correct, it's
cash
revenue,
and
right.
Right,
revenue.
oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
No,
We can't do that through a revolving account, right? It has to be this way, right?
no.
Yeah,
And, I mean, you could, and
Yeah.
you certainly could do inspections.
but it's just
Revolving, but-
another revolving account then.
Correct.
Is it really a large enough sum to even warrant doing something like that?
Well, that
or-
way the money stays in the revolving account and you just get your money back out, what you get, and at the end of the
So
year, what's
so-
left, the
on an annual
residual
basis.
washes out to the town.
Okay,
So
Right,
that,
so we
yeah.
created a revolving account for the CPR classes.
correct.
oh,
You
yeah,
know, it'd be
that's right.
that type of,
Yeah.
but I don't know, I don't know that we want to with, inspections.
I know, I don't know.
I mean, if I look at this, it looks like you're gonna be doubling you're doubling your inspections from
Well,
the.
Well, he wants to increase what the inspectors receive per inspection.
And, well, he'd increase the fee for the inspection too.
All right,
correct?
so this,
Right.
the wages have gone
So
up.
this is subject to the Board of Selectmen approving new
Correct,
fees.
correct.
So we need the Board of Selectmen to approve new fees.
So this
Correct.
25, is that gonna go up, or is that?
Yes, we're looking to come in line with the surrounding communities on what they charge,
Which
Okay.
is,
which is like for a smoke inspection, I believe Georgetown does 50, Haverhill does 50,
A big increase.
but
Wow.
it's
Wow.
still, I mean,
Oh, I know.
again,
We haven't increased fees in forever.
I
Not
understand
in the
that,
fire
but
department.
Yeah,
In some towns, at the same time, if you cancel within a 24-hour period prior to,
Yeah,
you
you
charge
know.
a
Lose your
reinspection,
money.
so it's a double.
yeah,
So if you call up and say, oh, I can't make it,
yeah,
he's got his folks scheduled to go out, then
right,
there's
yeah.
an additional fee
So
charge.
Denise, you've reviewed all this, do you think the board of selectmen's gonna go ahead and,
I think the select, well, I haven't seen the fee proposal,
okay,
Yeah.
so we need that.
so I don't know, I mean, the current board has an appetite to increase fees because they've realized that we haven't increased them and we are well under the surrounding communities, so I'm assuming if there's comparables in there, I think they would be supportive.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, they might not wanna go the whole,
Well,
double, I don't know what you're
yeah,
gonna
I'm not
propose,
looking
but,
at increasing every single fee
Yeah.
of what we do, just
Right.
certain ones.
Right, but then you would be able to put the offset into the revenues for us, so this would be a wash,
correct.
Yep.
Okay.
On that line, yes.
And-
yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Alright, so in this, the new thing for fire salary drills, we did this includes a 1.8% increase, as I noted on the side here. I also moved some money around here, moved 7,200 to a new line for Massachusetts Fire Academy training, just to break it out for easier to track it for us. For 2 firefighters to go to, or actually 3 firefighters to go to the 1-2 class. And this will cover their compensation for that class. So I moved that there, and I also wanted to move 3,800 to admin wages, which technically is company reports. Because as of this year, I'm already running a deficit of over $2,000 as we stand right now
what,
for the company reporting.
why wouldn't, how can you pay money we don't have then?
Well, I'm moving money. I'm requested to have money moved.
Because his salary line is still positive, so we
Oh,
can,
okay,
so
okay.
we can continue to pay the company reporting and
Okay,
just have a
okay.
special town meeting transfer, as long as his salary line stays positive.
Okay, so what exactly are these wages for, just like,
Which wages are these?
well, cause when we asked Kurt what it was company report last year, I remember I asked him, he said he didn't know.
Well, company reports are gonna cover anything that is not a call, an actual emergency call, or training. So when we have,
Like,
clerical work that needs to be done, we have, say, we do meetings for officers' meetings to reset up, different projects for the lieutenants and the captains. We also are in the process of doing a complete, department review of all the individuals, all the personnel, so that we can find out where people are, what we need to do for required training, and to try to actually kind of re-engage people back into the fire department, because we're kind of slacking off a little bit there. So that, the admin wages are anything that basically is not a emergency call or training.
So that's done by your firefighters.
For instance, myself, since I've come on, I've assisted the chief.
So how would that
with
differ
a
with
review of
the
budget.
admin recommended by on the report from the recent report
yeah.
that we had?
The recent, well, this was done
Would
before
be-
that. The
I
recent
know
re-
that, but
Yeah, but
would
the
this
recent
be-
report, I have not gotten through the whole thing yet.
Okay,
Okay.
but that has, it recommended an admin
Admin
person to say
position,
20 hours a week.
yeah,
I'm just telling you what it says.
Yeah, I mean, well, at this point, that's just a recommendation, until my bosses, make a decision.
yeah,
I really can't say an
Okay.
A and A. Do we need an assistant person? Does any other department have, an admin person?
yeah. We used to
in
have
that
a clerk.
position.
Yeah, I don't know that there's an appetite to add clerical to the fire department at this point.
Right, but that's essentially what this is clerical, this is people doing
Well,
paperwork.
right, they're doing paperwork,
Yeah.
or they're having meetings to assign jobs, or
Yeah.
to do the EMS
Right, so they just do like
certification,
a,
things like that.
so you put it into that, software thing, is it still going as company report, that's your only?
It is company reports
Okay,
as
that's the
of,
only
as
thing
of
it
July first.
I know, it's a weird
It's gonna be
word.
changed to admin wages.
Oh, okay, so
So
there
That's
is
when I
another
had asked when I
word.
started
That's-
looking
that's
into
why-
budget, if that could be changed.
It's gonna
Okay.
be something that actually reflects more of what it is.
So what is it when like they do like a standby for a storm, how is that going to your software?
That will go on a fire call, so that would be.
Oh, okay, so
that
the
would-
standby is a fire.
That would go on to fire, so that'd be actually firefighter wages.
Okay,
The
yeah,
salary drills, if we're doing any type of training, outside, inside training, that covers
Okay.
there.
Okay, I get it.
so, the only thing, I guess, that concerns me would be any stipends going in at this point. Just because, the selectmen haven't really decided, based on the consultant report, what recommendations we're gonna set. And I would just think that stipends, this would not be the time to put stipends in. I like the idea that we're gonna separate out, so you have your fire academy training. I like the fact that you're looking at the fees and being proactive.
Mhm.
And you're separating the company report and finally saying what it actually is, which is great. But brand new stipends when we're still not sure, what the direction is gonna be as far as the recommendations in that report. I would think it would be not a good time to put that in, but that's just my personal
Well,
opinion.
the stipend is to cover, tasks that are done that aren't captured or reimbursed in any other way, so.
Couldn't you just do it in admin, like if
I-
they put in certain
Yeah,
hours,
yeah.
rather than doing a flat stipend, that's all. I thought, charge it, admin, whenever they have to do something. And track it, see how many hours it actually takes,
Where's the stipend? What are you talking?
right here.
Oh,
EMS
stipend, so.
Yes, cause they asked her that a couple years ago, and we just said, well, we're not sure where everything's gonna end up. I would rather you fold it into your admin and just track it by, see how many hours they actually do with whatever it has to be done,
Right, so.
And that way you have some evidence as to what it takes to do that, right? I mean, I know these positions exist in other departments, I've seen.
Yes, and,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
there's.
was part of it from another department.
Right,
And I was tasked with a specific stipend to do a specific job for the year.
right,
So I did all the reporting to the state, to the
Yeah.
town,
yeah,
and to the hospital.
right,
So that was part of my stipend. I was responsible for 20 other people to make sure that their reports were correct, and then I would deal with the hospital, so it all fell on me
okay.
from that standpoint.
So you
I
probably
spent-
have some data then that could show like how many hours it might take in Groveland to do that, do you think?
I could probably put it together. I've done some research on
That
some
would
of
be
the calls, and
helpful
I've
rather
done some
than-
EMS, I've done quite a bit of research on the EMS back to 2014.
That would be good, to have that support in the documents, say how many, but ballpark number of hours and what the hourly rate you're basing it on is. Just because I don't know how we would answer a question on that, why we would recommend for or against it, I'm just a little reluctant to do a flat stipend.
Rich, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's the EMS recertification fee? Is that really an expense, or is that a salary line item?
That's the-
Cause
that's
you
the
have it at
class.
$140 for 25.
Yeah, that,
Is that, are you paying the
Oh.
actual employees
That's in
that, or are
the-
we paying a fee for a class?
Oh,
that,
That's in the wrong line.
yeah,
Oh.
Should be an
okay.
expense.
what is
Should be
it?
an
So that's an expense,
Oh,
not a
okay,
salary,
so
okay.
EMS.
S should be a C,
Yeah.
right?
Every 2 years, EMTs in Commonwealth, Massachusetts are required to take a recertification course and Con Ed hours.
So but that's not for the hours, that's for the fee of
That's
the
for the
class?
fee, yeah, that-
Okay, so
we-
we'll
That-
move that
that-
down
yeah,
to
we-
the
yeah,
expense
that's-
side.
for just a recertification fee that we require being, all EMTs, being a
just-
classified
Yeah, somehow
ambulance.
we missed that when we approved it.
Can I ask you a question? Just go back a little bit on this firefighters' wages. From what I can see, they're earning about $3,500 a year on an average. Is that right? About right?
I can tell you, it's right on our website.
Well, 30 firefighters, $3,000, he's
Yeah,
doing
that's
math,
what
in his-
that's
he's
what
doing mental math. I'm so proud of you.
No,
Is
cause
that
you
about
have,
right?
you have some that work many, many more hours and some
Yeah.
that don't work hours at all.
Right, but
So
it averages.
Averages out
So
Oh,
roughly
okay, that's
maybe
the average.
right
average, but-
around
Okay.
3,000, yeah.
Okay, so some are earning a lot more than that.
Some are earning more, some
Oh, it's
are
important.
earning less. And
Considerably less.
and that's all up to them on involvement,
Okay,
on,
fine.
you know, showing up for emergency calls,
That's right.
taking on added responsibilities.
Okay, thank you.
I was curious in the expense line, the communications line,
Yes,
that's for, what would the ongoing communication expenses be? That's not for equipment? I know we had equipment purchased, I think, last year.
yeah, we purchased radios, so this is gonna cover any incidentals with, if we need additional portables, if we need, we are also looking at hopefully supplementing our repeater with another node out somewhere to help cover a dead spot in town, and that would actually come out of there.
Okay.
That's what most of it will be.
And that's gonna be probably pretty close to that. Just wanna, you know, with our new repeater, we're gonna be going, digital, which gives us a little bit better range, but we still have some spots in towns that we need to try to make up on so that, you know, we can be safe and be able to communicate.
And so all of the trucks were inspected and are good right now. We have good vehicles? Let's just say yes. Come on now.
Did anyone
I'm
watch the
looking for
news
the
last night?
yes. No,
Is that why
no.
you're asking this?
Oh, no, I'm not. What did I miss?
The town of Mansfield had one of their engines burn in their station.
Oh,
last night.
no, I'm sorry. I didn't know
No,
that.
it
No.
wasn't Groveland, so that was good.
No, I'm just, because there was a time when there was sort of like delays on getting the inspections done.
No,
And
we're,
then everything was piling up. And
we're good on inspections.
Good.
We have, PMs that are be coming up here when it gets a little warmer, on all the trucks. There is some maintenance that needs to be done, but that's well covered in the budget
Okay.
that we have.
And that budget that we set last year, the 20,000 for the annual testing and
Yes,
the 15 for maintenance seems to be
That seems to be
reasonable.
pretty fair right now, as I see from my short time here in the seat,
Good job, team.
so.
What about the maintenance of the antenna and
Oh,
that kind of situation?
didn't we
that
fix
talked
that?
The antenna,
It's under
that was
communications.
covered under a different fund, correct?
That was under, yes, the capital.
Oh, so we fixed
That
that.
was with the radio articles from the last few years.
There was a
Oh.
revision
So-
to the
That was a rough
radio.
one.
Let me say thank you for that, so.
Okay, do you have an item for maintenance of equipment in general, like, as I say, antennas, your equipment that falters? Do you have
Our-
anything? It seems to me that would be an important thing to have.
That's the last line.
When you
So they have-
maintain equipment, you.
They have vehicle equipment and
Main-
fire equipment
Yeah.
line items in the
Right.
budget.
We have vehicle equipment and maintenance of 15,000.
Yeah.
Which we added in last year,
We
we did
gave
not
that.
have that separated out.
Right.
Okay,
And then they have 35,000 for fire equipment and
Right.
supplies.
And again, as, you know, as they broke them down last year, we're finding out that some of these need to be kind of retweaked a little bit, as we're doing here with moving some money, trying to move some money around here.
Yeah.
But again, as we go along, we'll be able to have a little more, you know, data on our side, and we can bring everything in line. As far as maintenance, we're doing pretty well. We haven't had any major issues or anything.
I think behind this is John and I were on Capitol, and
Okay.
there was a big discussion about communication equipment. And one of the things that the previous chief showed was all the bad antennas and the pictures that were taken by the vendor. And really the question is, how do we avoid having that happen in the future, and making sure that that kind of equipment is maintained?
Actually, I believe the town is working on some type of, communications for the whole town, where it's gonna be encompassed so that all departments, all communications are now done through Allcom.
Yes, so Allcom handles all radios and all communication for the town departments. I think Jim's point is, previously, we let the equipment get to a point that the antenna was falling off, the shed was
The
breaking down.
battery
Sure.
was corroded.
Right, and it took,
Deferred maintenance.
yes, And so how do we ensure, now that we've put all this money into upgrading the communications and the radios and the antennas,
Right.
that we stay on top of that maintenance on an annual basis, and then only need to replace capital, you know, as we need to replace the
Because it was
infrastructure,
really bad.
versus maintaining the infrastructure on a communication level.
Is 7,500 enough then? Communications, we have that.
Well, right now, everything should be good and new.
Yeah,
Everything is peachy.
Everything right now should be.
okay.
Everything is beautiful.
Because we
Yes,
gave it
what
like
I
a
would-
But it's something to
20%.
plan for in the
If
future, though,
changes
is
and
I
if
think
they're
your point.
deteriorating, we need to put that on a maintenance part of the budget, so
Right.
you need to
Sure.
be,
Well,
have
that's,
a
see, that's,
realistic
I guess that's a
maintenance.
conversation we can have with Allcom on maybe setting up some type of annual, service contract PM, where they come in, they go through
Right,
all of the stuff,
right.
and then each department can either kick in, or we can set that money aside and set that for, you know, all our communication infrastructure throughout the town,
Right,
and it's maintained yearly.
Right.
that's
I-
what I'm
I
concerned about.
thought they were doing our maintenance, aren't they? Isn't Allcom doing our maintenance?
As needed.
Okay, as
There-
needed.
we don't have a preventative schedule that they come out, I
Oh,
mean, again,
okay.
they've now replaced everything in the last 2 years,
Right.
so.
Right,
But going forward, we're not on a preventative
Right.
schedule, it's
Well,
just
we should
on
be.
call.
okay.
But I just wanted to clarify on the pictures of the bad antennas and all that
I've
stuff.
got that, yeah.
I don't work on fear mongering, I don't believe in it, so I'm gonna,
I
no,
believe
I
you.
understand, but I don't think it ever should have been done like that, is if I bring a problem to you, I hopefully am gonna bring a possible solution also,
Yes.
so.
Oh, the solution was very radical,
Okay.
radical. Big bucks!
We're gonna get on a rabbit hole.
Yes,
So
we
you
are.
better escape while you can.
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
So
I like him.
So that's everything, right, everybody?
Right,
More
okay.
or less?
So I would
Go
like
ahead.
to
Tell
just, on fire equipment and supplies, $35,000.
Yeah,
So we level funded that right at the moment because we didn't see a need for increase. That includes us, I
fine.
believe this was set up by my predecessor on, we're gonna look at purchasing 6 sets of new firefighting gear,
Yeah,
jackets, pants, helmets, everything, for 6 people each year. And that way there, we don't have that big capital expense
exactly.
Oh,
after the end of the 10 years. So what we're doing is, by doing this way, we're deferring this, and we're doing it every year, so you're not gonna have that big expense like when we buy a brand new fire truck.
Every 10 years.
That's
Yeah.
So how long do you use the gear for then?
10 years or until it wears out.
So why would 6 a year would be,
See,
Well,
We
well,
only have 30
NFPA
people.
also recommends that each firefighter have 2 sets of gear.
oh,
In my
two
old
sets?
department, I had 2 sets.
Oh,
I'd
okay.
come out of a fire, and believe me, I didn't wanna put that stuff on.
No, I know.
So that would get cleaned, and I would swap out to my reserve gear
Right,
while the rest of it was being
right.
cleaned.
So did you look at the, consultant report with respect to that, the gear cleaning, the
I
separation of
just
things
received that
in them?
report tonight, so I'll go through
Oh, they
that.
haven't seen that?
no,
no,
I
he
started.
did.
Oh,
I
okay.
just-
It's
I
on our
just
website.
received it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cause it's
It's
actually,
only
there's a lot
50
of,
pages long.
a lot of
I can
information
read
in
that
there,
at lunch.
a lot of information in there.
I already printed up
Do
the last.
it the last one.
How much of that 35,000 is the turnout gear?
So the turnout gear from the quote I just received is ballpark around $2,100 per set, is what I just got for my estimate, so.
You got a good price.
Okay, so
My
that
last
still
set-
leaves
my
at
last set was
20,000.
27.
That's good, that's a nice buffer, so, we haven't seen the revenue yet, like, if the revenue got tight,
We could get rid of a cruiser. and
well, no,
hire a
I
truck.
mean, the inspections are washed, I know,
Yeah.
he actually already did them things, I don't know whether there's anywhere to move in this, cause we don't wanna push this budget
Well,
down
no,
again.
but
Yeah.
I will tell you that,
Tell me,
based on the consultant's report, the likelihood of the chief's salary line remaining at 29,000 is probably very slim.
That's
yes,
not
I
gonna
know,
happen.
so we're gonna
if
need
we're
to
increasing
wiggle.
hours at all, then that's going to dramatically increase.
Yes,
This
Okay.
is about the fuel increase. I know that's a minor issue, but it seems to me that the fuel isn't going up, is it? Or is it,
Well,
Will in the spring.
here,
or is
here's,
it because we've got a new?
here's the thing, we're
ladder truck or
actually, out of our fuel budget, we're covering the generator that covers the town hall complex. We had an issue last year during a snowstorm where we had no electricity when all the electricity went out.
And there was no oil in the tank.
There was nothing in there. And about 15 feet away, there was plenty. So what we're doing is we're tracking as we top that off, we track how much. So if it turns out that it becomes an issue, then we'll have documentation saying, hey, our budget took a hit, you know, for this here, so, but at this point, it's not an
Okay.
issue.
Okay. Well,
That looks good.
got more?
So this is my first budget, hopefully my last, but,
So as you said, you know, we take in all the information, we go
Sure.
through, we try to meet with everybody that's willing to come and see us. So we appreciate it that you took time to come down and explain these lines to us, because, we see, as you can see from these tabs, we look at a lot of budgets.
those are all budgets,
Yeah,
Yeah, everything you wanna know is in this book.
it is,
everything I don't wanna know.
but it's color coded, isn't
Exactly.
it? See,
Exactly.
she color codes us,
nice.
beautiful,
This
isn't
is
it
what
nice?
the financial director gives
Yep.
all departments to make and stuff.
It's fantastic. So again, and once we get an idea, of course, with the consultant report, if anything else is changing,
You wanna
the
take
selectmen would
10
make a
minutes
decision, and we could meet with you again if you needed
Sure.
us to.
So they're having
so-
a meeting Tuesday, is it?
Yeah, so the selectmen are meeting Tuesday, I'm waiting for the chairman to approve the agenda. One board member asked to add the consultant's report on there to have further discussion. They met with them at the last meeting, they asked questions, but they didn't really discuss now what they wanna do with that.
Oh, okay.
The first order of business really would be to discuss the chief. What are we gonna do? Are we looking at a full-time? Are we looking at changing anything? So they really need to discuss that, I think, first.
Yeah.
You know, everything else they can sort of prioritize as they wanna implement, but I think they at least need to address that and where we go from here. So,
Okay, and-
hopefully they'll have that discussion Tuesday night, or at least start that discussion
Right,
Tuesday
and
night.
in
Yeah.
interest of transparency, we have all received the report, and we're planning to have a discussion of it tonight.
Sure.
And it's a public meeting, so you can stay or go, it's your choice. Obviously, you might wanna stay, but you don't have to, it's up to you.
I'll stick around for a little bit.
Yeah.
Still have to finish up my payroll, but, overall,
okay.
we're pretty good.
But is there anything else in your budget submission that you want to tell us about, or anybody else have any other questions? Are we done with the budget?
I'm done. I think that's.
I think we're done
yeah.
with that. Okay, so on our agenda now, we have the consultant report. I don't know if everyone had a chance to read it, 50 pages.
Indeed, I read it all.
I did.
I read all the recommendations,
I read the whole thing.
well,
Do you wanna give your first
I read it
impression
and
of
I
it?
watched the
Yes, I do.
presentation.
Go right ahead, John's gonna
I
start.
thought that the report was exceptionally good when it was dealing with staffing issues. Namely, looking at staff for the future. That made a lot of sense what they recommended. What I was concerned about was, as I said earlier, this issue of maintenance and whatever, it's as if it didn't cover that. They didn't talk about it, they didn't talk about, the budgets overall. He made some cursory comment looking at the budget, the fire budget in the past, looking in the last 2 years,
Mhm.
that essentially it looked okay.
Okay,
But it did not do an analysis of budgets. And at one point, I thought he might come up with some recommendations where we could essentially not have this, what I call, rather difficult situation we're having, which is high cost items coming in on the budget, huge amounts of money.
mhm,
When we were on the capital improvement committee, I worked on looking at what they were recommending. It was nearly $1.5 to $2 million over the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, it was absolutely scandalous.
so you're focusing on what, the big capital
The
purchase?
big capital
That's what
items,
was
this
not in
is
the
the,
report.
yes, and I was
Right,
hoping
yeah,
that
no,
he
that-
would look at the issues and talk about these items.
I don't,
And
Denise, was
talk
that
about
in the scope?
what is the long-term picture for the fire department in Groveland with big items. That is very concerning to me.
Well, he did say that the fire chief, once they decide on the position, would need to come up with, what did he, I forget how many year plan he said, 3 to 5, if I remember right?
Well, it seemed to me that this
But he-
report should have been talking about some of these items. There was a golden opportunity for some analysis to could have been done on that, and it was just ducked.
Is that the scope of the, but I'm not sure if that.
Maybe it
I
wasn't in the
don't
scope,
think
I
that
don't
was in
know,
the
I don't,
scope.
I
Well-
thought it was, but maybe not.
Maybe it wasn't. I don't think it was. I think it was to look at the operations and make recommendations on that.
Well,
So,
it is an operational issue, isn't it?
so their actual scope includes part of that. Review the overall operations of the department, analyze the resources and equipment, review the budget and expenditures, review the practices, policies of the department, analyze the call volume against the availability of resources, and review the hours of the chief. That was their true scope.
And I think that they did an excellent job in some areas, and they just ignored other sections.
So I will tell you, I actually had a similar conversation with the primary consultants that I felt they did not identify the budget, they did not discuss the budget well enough. I had the same comment to him about the equipment. I actually was concerned that they were just regurgitating Kurt's report in their report as the equipment, and I said to them, I wanna know if you actually looked at the equipment or just took his report and put it in here. He said, we looked at the equipment and we agreed with it. I said, then you need to put that in here, cause it doesn't say that. Cause I feel like you took exactly what he wrote and just said, this is what we support. And I don't think that that's, in essence, what we asked you to do.
So you're talking about when they talked about, potentially having this many trucks at this station?
Yeah, so they actually put the
Okay.
same chart in that Kurt presented to the selectmen,
Oh,
word for
okay.
word.
I didn't realize that was the
And
same
it
chart.
actually says in a report done by acting chief Kurt
Kurt
Rashala, here's
Okay.
the equipment breakdown, and here's the condition of each piece of
So they
equipment.
just accepted
Right, there's
that
a
as
chart.
face value.
Yes.
Now,
Okay.
he said he did review the equipment and agreed with the assessment, and that's, so he did add that
It was
caveat in there, but,
essentially a one-line item on the
Yes.
bottom of page 12.
And the chart,
yes, and then I said the same thing
Okay.
about the budget, I said, we'd
Okay.
asked you to look at the budget and analyze that, and whether or not maybe there's more funding that's needed in certain areas, and he said, well, we did, and everything looks fine based on the size of the community, and again, put maybe 2 sentences in about reviewing the budget. So I had those same 2 concerns, when I read their draft.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
We are on the same
Alright,
page.
well, it is what it is.
I'm not even a doctor.
John, did you finish, Jim, did you wanna make any?
No, I thought the report was consultant written. I've dealt with consultants for years. He is a firefighter. He's gonna make all firefighting look good. That's what they do. And it's about rescue, it's about that. All this other stuff's important, but I think they pointed out, I mean, this is like the perfect fire department in here, so
Yes,
if
exactly.
we, well,
If we had
you know,
unlimited funds.
I mean, I
correct.
think it's hard to run a on-call fire department. I don't know what the motivation, these guys aren't like, you know, cutting grass and then they can drop what they do and handle emergency. You have to be pretty clever to do the staffing now, I would guess. I don't know how that works. It's gotta be difficult, am I right? I mean, it's not like
it's
the
a
old
challenge.
days, everybody
No, and
worked in town.
I said that. I said the report essentially, when it came to staffing and their recommendations,
Right.
made perfect sense.
Right,
It was just the other things that I felt that should have been dealt with, which were not dealt with.
Right,
Okay.
because
And
I
I
think,
suspect that
So
part
you're
of
right,
that
yeah.
is you guys were most concerned about that, which is understandable. And so probably there was a little bias that way because the way you saw the thing, as opposed to the way we saw it.
I think any improvement is good. I think, you know, in a financial the last couple of years, the capital budgets have been debatable, and I think at least we're cutting through that. We've got some new leadership here, even though it could be interim, so, you know, I'm kinda happy about the direction. I just wanna make sure we get a fire chief by this year, okay?
this this
Yeah,
is good.
I mean, we could, you know,
Yeah,
and open that rec up, and
well, that's what the report
if
stressed
he
that.
wants to
throughout the
apply
whole
for it,
report.
you know,
Make a
you know.
decision. Make a decision.
I'm trying to grow hair back.
Okay. How
Best
long
of
have
luck
you,
with
how long
that.
have you been on the Groveland Fire Department?
Okay.
How long have I been on?
Both of you?
I've been on 28 years.
Whoa,
I've been on since November, but I have almost 15 years
where
in
did you come from before here?
Georgetown.
Georgetown?
And I spent 14 years there, and I spent 5 years on.
Do you live in
Newbury as well.
Groveland or
No, sir, I live in Georgetown. I
Georgetown?
live on West Street,
Okay,
so that's,
okay,
I'm
Right
2.5
up the
miles
street.
from South Station.
all right, good, well, you're a welcome addition.
So Denise, did you wanna speak or do you wanna let Ruth go? Do you wanna speak or not? On the report? I'm going around the table.
No, I'm good.
I know, I figured you would say that. You get to talk enough all day. Ruth, do you have any comments?
No, I read through it, I listened to him, I thought that a lot was left really in the hands of the new chief, opening communication and working together, and we
Right.
would look forward to that. I
Exactly.
think this group and the selectmen would look
Okay.
forward to that.
I agree with Ruth, I think you just need a new person, new ideas, get in there, start from the top and work his
Right.
way down.
Because even when you talk of the equipment, it really is, needs and wants, and it's part of, I mean, everybody wants the greatest, but it's really part of what we can afford now, later, down the road, where we need to make concessions, where we need to not necessarily. So I think maybe why it wasn't addressed is because it's all up to a larger conversation, but that could have been noted
Right.
also.
I guess I'm glad that we pushed for the consultant to come in and do this. I think it was the right move. I think that, there'll be some people that will say, well, you can't afford all of this, but that's normal.
Right.
Consultant report is a bunch of recommendations, and the thing to pay attention to, I think, in that one, is the priority of those recommendations. Pay attention carefully to the priority in there, and the priority is fill this chief's job, decide what you need for qualifications there, what you need for hours committed to this position, and then move on. And I hope that this doesn't follow the path of other reports we've paid for in this town. I'm gonna argue strongly for it not to go on a shelf and gather dust, because, it cost us $15,000, and we asked for this input, and if we don't listen to it, shame on us.
But I also think
You
that,
know.
a lot of it comes down to the person in the role. And that if Rich applies and it's Rich, or if he chooses not to and someone else, it's developing a level of trust, and then everything else should fall into place, because then you have a collaborative working relationship. And there's not this sort of wall between the town and the fire department. There's more effort to communicate and then share resources and talk about the needs. And so it's not just a surprise every year at Capitol that all of a sudden, we need $50,000 of new radios again. Because that conversation should be ongoing throughout the year in more of a collaborative process.
But just a heads up, even though there were no capital requests this year, there are still some large items
Well, we
on
re-
that list
we
for the
recognize
fire
that,
department,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, no.
It's not gonna go away, we're gonna have a
That's
boom
right,
by
it's not
moment,
gonna go
okay?
away,
So,
you
Right.
got that right.
No, and I mean,
But-
like this book, it's a balancing act of all of these needs, and, I just think that report finally clarifies things, as far as what the priority should be, what can be looked at. I think it puts it in pretty plain language, and it has a lot of information in it.
yeah, but
So-
Yes.
it requires consistency and persistence to make sure.
It does.
And, when we have selectmen that come in and go out because they're elected,
Right.
we don't always get that consistency,
That's right.
Okay.
so.
So I would hope the fire department is supportive of,
You need a good
of
leader.
this. I mean, you don't need to want every
Exactly. It starts
recommendation,
at
but
the
it's a
top.
good
No,
report.
but
I
don't
mean,
expect every recommendation to happen,
Yeah.
and if it does, it's nothing, nobody can afford to do that all at one time, so it has to be,
has
you know,
to be
systematically,
measured
the ones that,
steps,
the
right.
parts that we want have to be put in over time.
Right, and I think as a consultant said, with the more open communication, then it will be better. Like just the name change, that was a good highlight. Not a big deal really, but
Yeah.
nobody knew. You know what I mean? It wasn't communicated, and you say, okay, why did we change the name? Oh, okay, why? Oh, that's good, let's just do that and make sure that's.
So
what
another
we
part that
report.
we are
Yeah.
constantly trying to do is we're going out there, we're writing grants to try to get,
Yes.
money towards equipment we need, so it's not a burden on the town. Right now, we're waiting for a decision on a new frontline engine.
Right,
And if that happens, it's gonna be a matching fund that
right,
we're gonna have to come back for, probably gonna be about $140,000.
right, we've done that before.
Yeah, and
Well-
that's a huge savings to the
But
town.
there was another grant that they mentioned several times, and I thought it had to do with personnel, am I right or wrong? Do you remember that part of the report?
Yes.
Yes, so we've never sought things like that. I know we've done that in the police department,
Yes.
but we've never done that in the fire department, so that would take some some level of expertise to understand that one and see how we could go about it. But again, good recommendations.
Right, the Staffing for Fire and Emergency Response Grant
Exactly.
Program
We've never accessed
that assists in the recruitment and retainment of volunteer and on-call firefighters,
Yeah.
so.
And, yeah, I thought that was a really good recommendation.
For 3 years and then
Yeah,
you
they-
it's a
they wean it
Right.
That's how it works.
Right, we had it in the police department years ago when I was on the finance board, we brought in a police officer on something like that. And it
Yes.
phases out, so it allows the town to
Mm.
absorb the cost without taking the money from another department. That really helps. Are we- Yeah, we are, John, thank you. He does that. We've been here since 5:30. Okay, so, if we have nothing else to say at this point, you guys wanna adjourn until our next meeting? We're meeting again on the 27th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you can make a motion to adjourn,
I make a motion to
I
adjourn.
second it.
and all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned.
The meeting is awesome.